Life today feels like an endless race. People wake up already tired, checking their phones before they even take a breath, rushing into a day filled with meetings, bills, deadlines, and responsibilities. There is hardly any space to pause, to breathe, to feel. The weight of stress presses heavily on the chest, anxiety whispers in the background, and loneliness often hides behind smiles posted on social media. Deep inside, many people feel a quiet emptiness, a silent cry that says, there must be more to life than this. And yet, in this fast-paced world, most do not know how to stop, how to calm the storm inside, how to find a way out of the constant pressure. We live in an age of abundance, yet also an age of despair. People have more technology than ever before, more comfort than kings of the past, and yet depression, burnout, and broken relationships rise every year. We chase money, thinking it will give us peace. We chase love, thinking it will heal our wounds. We chase recognition, thinking it will finally make us feel enough. But each time we reach what we thought was the goal, the satisfaction slips away like water through our fingers. The mind keeps asking for more, never satisfied, never still. This is the modern tragedy. So much achievement on the outside, so much suffering on the inside. But what if there is another way? What if the solution is not outside of us, but within us? For thousands of years, the teachings of the Buddha have pointed to this truth. Peace does not come from controlling the world, but from understanding the mind. Freedom does not come from endless accumulation, but from letting go. Happiness is not a prize waiting at the end of success, but a seed already planted in the heart, waiting to be nurtured. These teachings are not distant, abstract philosophy. They are practical tools for modern life. They are ways to breathe again, to live again, to rediscover the beauty of the present moment. Imagine waking up in the morning not with dread, but with calm. Imagine facing stress, not as a crushing weight, but as a challenge you can carry lightly. Imagine relationships not as battles of ego, but as opportunities to practice compassion. This is not a fantasy. It is the natural result of living with awareness, of applying wisdom that has guided countless generations before us. The Buddha's path is not about escape. It is about courage. It is not about rejecting life. It is about embracing it fully, with clarity and love. This journey we are about to take together is divided into 10 steps, each step addressing a wound of the modern heart, and each step offering a healing touch of timeless wisdom. We will speak of stress and how to calm it. We will face the pain of money worries and learn the power of letting go. We will walk through the storm of broken relationships and discover the shelter of compassion. We will meet anxiety, depression, emptiness, and transform them not with denial, but with understanding. Each chapter is a light on the path. Each story a reminder that suffering is real, but freedom is possible. As you listen, allow the words not only to enter your mind, but to touch your heart. Do not worry about agreeing or disagreeing. Simply let the stories flow over you, like gentle waves washing the shore. Somewhere in these teachings, you will hear a voice that feels familiar, a truth you already knew deep inside but had forgotten. That is the voice of peace calling you home. And as we begin this journey, know that you are not alone. Countless others are walking the same path, searching for the same light, longing for the same freedom. Together, step by step, we will find a way to breathe again, to hope again, and to live with meaning. Stress is the silent companion of modern life. It slips into every corner of the day, from the morning alarm to the last moment before sleep. People wake with racing thoughts about what needs to be done, rush through traffic, answer emails before breakfast, and carry an invisible weight on their shoulders, as if they are running from something they can never quite escape. The body feels tense, the breath becomes shallow, the mind spins like a wheel that cannot stop. Deep down, many people know that living this way is not sustainable, but they do not know another way. They believe stress is simply the price of survival in today's world. Think about a typical morning for so many people. The alarm clock rings, but instead of rising calmly, the first instinct is to check the phone. Dozens of notifications scream for attention. News headlines speak of disasters, financial markets, political fights. Social media shows curated lives of friends and strangers, sparking comparison and doubt. Work messages already demand responses, as if the day has started before the body has even moved. By the time a person stands up, their heart is already beating faster. Their mind is already pulled in 1,000 directions. Stress does not begin at the office. It begins the moment the eyes open, and then the cycle continues. In traffic, every red light feels like an enemy. Every slow driver feels like a personal attack. At work, the inbox grows like a monster that cannot be fed enough. Meetings pile upon meetings, deadlines loom, and even small tasks feel like stones being added to an already heavy load. People try to push through, telling themselves they just need to get to the weekend, to the holiday, to retirement. But the truth is that stress does not wait. It builds. It settles into the muscles. It burns in the stomach. It clouds the mind. Over time, it becomes not just a temporary state, but a way of being. This constant state of stress has deep consequences. The body becomes sick more easily. Sleep becomes shallow and restless. Joy fades. Patience shortens. Relationships suffer because the smallest disagreements explode when both people are already exhausted. Children grow up watching parents who are always too tired, too worried, too distracted. And behind it all is the quiet fear. What if I cannot keep up? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? Stress feeds on fear, and fear feeds on stress, creating a cycle that seems impossible to escape. But here is the truth. Stress is not caused by the outside world alone. Two people can face the same situation and respond in completely different ways. One person breaks down, another person remains calm. The difference is not luck. It is the mind. The Buddha taught that suffering is not only what happens to us, but how we relate to what happens. In the words of ancient teaching, pain is certain, but suffering is optional. This means that while life will always bring challenges, the way we meet those challenges is within our power. Let us imagine a river. The water flows quickly, full of rocks and sharp turns. One person jumps into the river without knowing how to swim. They panic, fight against the current, and soon they are overwhelmed. Another person steps into the same river but knows how to float. They surrender to the water, letting it carry them while they move gently to avoid the rocks. The river is the same, but the experience is completely different. Stress is like that river. Without understanding, we drown. With understanding, we can float. So what is the way to float? The Buddha gave many simple but powerful tools, and one of the most direct is the breath. Breath is with us from birth to death, yet most of the time we ignore it. We breathe shallowly, unconsciously, as if it does not matter. But when we bring awareness to the breath, something magical happens. The body calms. The mind slows. Stress begins to release its grip. This is not mystical. It is biology. Slow, deep breathing activates the body's natural relaxation response. It tells the nervous system, you are safe. You can rest. Picture this. You are in the middle of a stressful moment. Your boss is demanding something impossible, or your children are crying, or the bills are due, and you do not know how to pay them. Instead of reacting immediately, you pause. You close your eyes for just a few seconds. You take a slow breath in through the nose, filling the belly like a balloon. You hold for a moment. Then you release slowly through the mouth. In that simple act, you create a small island of peace. The situation is still there, but your mind has shifted. You are no longer drowning. You are floating. Of course, one breath is not enough to solve years of stress. But like drops of water, each breath adds up. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. This is why mindfulness, or paying attention to the present moment, is at the heart of Buddhist teaching. Mindfulness is not about escaping reality. It is about fully facing reality with clarity and calm. Stress thrives on distraction and fear. Mindfulness dissolves distraction and brings us back to what is real. This moment, this breath, this step. Think of a candle in a dark room. Stress is like the darkness, filling the space, making it hard to see. Mindfulness is like lighting a small flame. The darkness does not disappear completely, but it no longer controls the room. With even a little light, you can find your way. That light is always inside you. The challenge is remembering to light it. Another powerful teaching about stress is impermanence. In the heat of the moment, stress feels eternal. We think, I will never get through this. This pressure will never end. But nothing lasts forever. Every wave rises and falls. Every storm passes. Remembering this truth changes the way we hold stress. Instead of clinging to the feeling as if it will last forever, we can say, this too will pass. And in that simple reminder, we create space for patience and hope. The Buddha also spoke of right effort. Many people think the answer to stress is to push harder, to work longer, to control everything. But true effort is not about burning ourselves out. It is about wise energy, knowing when to act and when to rest, when to speak and when to stay silent, when to hold on and when to let go. Sometimes the most powerful action is not more action, but stillness. Just as a muddy glass of water clears when left alone, the mind often clears when we stop stirring it with constant worry. Let us also not forget compassion. Stress often makes us harsh with ourselves. We say, I am not strong enough. I am failing. I should be better. These words are like adding extra stones to an already heavy load. Compassion is taking some of those stones out of the bag. It is saying, I am doing my best. I deserve kindness too. Imagine a dear friend who is exhausted and afraid. Would you shout at them? Or would you offer them a gentle hand? Why not offer the same to yourself? Self-compassion softens stress and gives us the strength to continue. The modern world will not stop being demanding. Technology will not slow down. Bills will not vanish. But what can change is the way we meet these challenges. Stress does not have to define us. We can learn to breathe, to be mindful, to remember impermanence, to use wise effort, to practice compassion. These are not just ideas. They are practices. They are choices we can make each day, even in the smallest moments. And each choice becomes a brick in the foundation of a calmer, stronger, freer life. As you hear these words, maybe you feel a small sense of relief, or maybe you feel skeptical. That is normal. Change does not happen overnight. But think of this as planting a seed. Even if the seed is small, with time and care, it can grow into a tree that gives shade and fruit. The seed is inside you already. Every time you breathe with awareness, every time you show kindness to yourself, every time you remember that storms pass, you are watering that seed. One day, you will look back and see how far you have come. And so, we begin our journey here with stress, the invisible burden carried by millions. We name it, we face it, and we begin to transform it. The path is not about running away, but about walking steadily, one mindful step at a time. And as we learn to ease this burden, we prepare ourselves for the next challenge, the next wound of modern life, the endless struggle with money, and the fear of never having enough. Stress is like a shadow that follows wherever we go. Sometimes it is small, almost unnoticeable, but sometimes it stretches long and heavy, covering every step. To understand it deeply, we must not only describe it, but look at its roots. Why do people in the modern world feel more stressed than ever before, even though they live with greater comfort and convenience than generations past? The answer lies in the restless mind, the constant comparison, and the illusion of control. We live in a culture that glorifies busyness. When someone asks, "How are you?" the common answer is, "I'm busy." Busy has become a badge of honor, a proof of worth. But beneath this, there is fear. Fear of falling behind. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of being left out. This fear creates endless striving, endless running, as if life were a race with no finish line. And when the body runs while the mind races, stress becomes the natural result. Consider the story of a man who worked in a large company. Every day he arrived early and left late. His colleagues admired his dedication, and his boss praised his productivity. On the outside, he looked successful. But inside, his chest was tight, his stomach hurt, and his nights were restless. He told himself, "I am doing this for my family." Yet when he came home, he was too exhausted to play with his children, too distracted to listen to his partner. His family did not receive his presence, only his absence. And one day, he collapsed from exhaustion. Only then did he realize that stress had stolen not only his health, but also the very moments he thought he was working for. This story is not unique. It is the silent story of millions, and it raises a painful question. What is the cost of living with stress? The cost is life itself. For while people are busy surviving, they forget how to live. They forget to enjoy a simple meal, a walk under the trees, a quiet conversation. They forget to notice the colors of the sky, the sound of laughter, the comfort of silence. Stress blinds the eyes to the beauty already present. It tricks the heart into believing that peace is always somewhere else, sometime in the future, after this task is done, after this problem is solved. But the future never arrives. There is always another task, another problem. And so, life slips away. The Buddha's teaching reminds us of a profound truth. Life is only this moment. The past is memory, the future is imagination. The only place where peace can exist is here and now. When we bring our attention back to the present, stress begins to lose its power. It is like a thief that can only steal when we are distracted. When we are awake, mindful, present, the thief has no chance. Let us practice together, even now. As you hear these words, pause. Notice your breath. Feel the air as it enters your nose, as it fills your lungs, as it leaves your body. Notice the rise and fall of your chest. Do not try to change anything. Simply notice. For a moment, there is nothing to fix, nothing to achieve, nothing to fear. There is only this breath. In this breath, there is peace. If you felt even a small relief, that is the doorway. That doorway is always open, no matter where you are or what you face. In the middle of an argument, in the noise of traffic, in the silence of night, you can step through it with a single breath. And every time you do, you remind yourself, I am not my stress. I am the awareness that notices my stress. I am larger than this moment of fear. Still, the modern mind resists. It says, but I have too much to do. If I slow down, I will fall behind. This is the trap of control. We think if we hold tighter, we will be safe. But the tighter we hold, the more stressed we become. Imagine holding a rope with both hands, pulling as hard as you can. After a few minutes, your hands hurt. After an hour, they bleed. You believe you must keep pulling, but what happens if you let go? The pain stops. The rope was never the problem. The grip was. Letting go does not mean giving up responsibility. It means recognizing what is within our control and what is not. We can control our actions, our words, our effort, but we cannot control the outcome. the reactions of others, or the flow of the universe. When we try to control everything, we create endless stress. When we accept our limits, we find freedom. A mother once came to the Buddha, desperate with grief after losing her child. She begged him to bring the child back. The Buddha told her to bring a mustard seed from a house that had never known death. She searched every home, but in each one she found stories of loss. At last, she realized that suffering touches all lives. In that realization, she found peace. The story reminds us, life is impermanent, pain is universal, and control is an illusion. When we stop fighting reality, we stop creating extra suffering. Stress often comes not only from fear of the present, but from endless worry about the future. We tell ourselves, what if I lose my job? What if I get sick? What if I fail? These are shadows of possibilities, not realities. The future is a blank page, yet the mind fills it with nightmares. The Buddha taught that worry is carrying two burdens, the pain of today and the imagined pain of tomorrow. Why carry both? If tomorrow brings trouble, we will face it then. But why suffer twice? So how do we live with less stress? The path is simple, but not easy. We must practice daily, like training a muscle. Begin with small moments. One mindful breath, one pause before reacting, one act of compassion toward yourself. Add them together, day by day. Over time, you will notice the mind becoming steadier, like a tree whose roots grow deeper with each storm. The wind still blows, but the tree no longer falls. Another practice is gratitude. Stress often narrows the mind, making us focus only on problems. Gratitude widens the lens. It says, yes, life is difficult, but look also at the good. Even in a stressful day, there are small blessings. A smile, a meal, a safe place to rest. By naming them, we shift the heart from scarcity to abundance. Gratitude does not erase stress, but it balances it. It reminds us that life is not only burden, it is also gift, and let us remember community. Stress isolates, making us feel alone. But we are not alone. Every human heart knows stress. When we share our struggles with others, we lighten the load. When we practice compassion toward others, we soften our own pain. The Buddha taught the importance of Sangha, the community of seekers. Alone, stress feels overwhelming. Together, peace becomes possible. At the end of the day, the real antidote to stress is presence. Not running from life, not drowning in it, but standing in the middle with open eyes and steady breath. The storms will come, but we can be the calm center. And when we practice this, we not only heal ourselves, but also offer peace to others. A calm presence is contagious. Just as one candle can light another without losing its flame, your calm can inspire calm in those around you. Now, as we close this first part of our journey, let us reflect. Stress is real, but it is not undefeatable. It is a teacher, showing us where we cling, where we fear, where we forget. Through mindfulness, breath, compassion, and letting go, we can transform stress into wisdom. Each stressful moment can become a doorway back to the present, back to peace. And yet, as the weight of stress lightens, another burden often rises to the surface, the burden of money. For many, financial worry is the loudest voice in the mind, the heaviest stone in the heart. Fear of not having enough, of losing what we have, of failing to provide. These fears fuel endless anxiety. As we move forward, we will face this fear honestly, and we will explore how Buddhist wisdom can guide us to a healthier, freer relationship with money. Money is one of the greatest sources of stress in the modern world. People think about it from the moment they wake until the moment they sleep. Will I have enough to pay the bills? How will I afford rent, food, healthcare, education? What if I lose my job? What if the economy crashes? These questions are not just numbers on a page. They are fears that live in the body. They tighten the chest, disturb the sleep, and create a constant hum of anxiety that never goes away. For some, the pain comes from not having enough. A single mother working 2 jobs, struggling to put food on the table. A family watching medical bills pile higher and higher. A young graduate burdened by student loans, feeling trapped before life has even begun. For others, the pain comes even when they have enough. A businessman who has plenty of money but cannot stop worrying about losing it. A wealthy family fighting over inheritance, tearing relationships apart. A professional who makes a good salary but feels empty, always chasing the next promotion, the next bonus, the next investment. In both poverty and wealth, money has the power to enslave the mind. Why is this so? Because money is tied to survival, to safety, to self-worth. Without it, we fear hunger and homelessness. With it, we fear losing status and security. Our society teaches us that success is measured in dollars, that happiness is bought with possessions, that safety comes from having more. And so, we run in circles, chasing numbers that never seem to be enough. Even when we reach a goal, the goalpost moves further away. A bigger house, a newer car, a better lifestyle. The hunger is endless. The Buddha saw this clearly. He taught that craving is the root of suffering. Craving for wealth, craving for security, craving for recognition. These cravings can never be fully satisfied. Like drinking salt water, the more we consume, the thirstier we become. We believe money will solve our suffering, but if we look closely, we see that it often multiplies suffering. It creates greed, jealousy, competition, fear. It divides families, destroys friendships, corrupts leaders. This does not mean money itself is evil. Money is simply a tool. But the attachment to money, the belief that it is the source of happiness, that is the trap. Consider the story of a man who won the lottery. Overnight, he went from struggling to wealthy. At first, he felt ecstatic. He bought everything he had ever wanted, gave gifts to friends, lived a life of luxury. But soon, problems arose. People he barely knew came asking for help. Old friends grew distant, either jealous or demanding. He worried constantly about being cheated. His health declined as his habits worsened. Within a few years, most of the money was gone, and with it his peace. He admitted that he was happier before he won. The problem was not the money itself, but the illusion he had placed upon it. Now imagine another person, a woman living modestly with enough for her needs. She does not own much, but she practices gratitude every day. She eats simple meals with appreciation. She cares for her family with love. She shares what little she has with neighbors in need. Her joy is not dependent on excess, but on contentment. She may not appear wealthy to the world, but in her heart she is rich. The Buddha often spoke of noble wealth. Noble wealth is not the coins in your pocket or the balance in your account. Noble wealth is generosity, compassion, wisdom, and inner peace. These cannot be stolen, cannot be lost in a market crash, cannot vanish overnight. When you cultivate noble wealth, you carry treasure that is far greater than gold. Still, the practical pain of money is real. Bills must be paid, food must be bought. How do we reconcile the wisdom of letting go with the reality of financial responsibility? The key is balance. The Buddha did not teach that we should abandon all money. He taught the middle way. Not indulgence, not deprivation, but balance. Earn money honestly, without harming others. Use money wisely for what is needed. Share money generously, knowing that clinging only deepens fear. In this way, money becomes a servant, not a master. Let us pause to imagine the mind of a person ruled by money. They wake up checking their investments. They go to bed worrying about expenses. They compare their life to others constantly, always measuring themselves against someone richer, more successful. The result is endless dissatisfaction. Now imagine the mind of a person who respects money but does not worship it. They work, they save, they spend with care, but they do not tie their worth to their wealth. They value relationships, kindness, purpose. When money comes, they are grateful. When money goes, they remain steady. Which life feels freer? The Buddha told a parable about a man crossing a river. He builds a raft to carry him to the other shore. The raft is useful, but once he reaches the shore, he does not need to carry it on his back. Money is like the raft. It helps us cross certain waters, but if we cling to it, it becomes a burden. Use it, but do not be bound by it. In today's culture, advertising feeds our craving. Every day, thousands of messages tell us we are not enough. Not thin enough, not young enough, not successful enough. The solution, they say, is to buy this product, this car, this lifestyle. We swallow the lie, thinking each purchase will bring happiness. But soon the joy fades and we crave the next thing. This cycle is endless until we awaken. Awareness breaks the spell. When we pause and ask, do I truly need this? Will this bring lasting peace? We begin to free ourselves. Generosity is another powerful medicine. The Buddha praised generosity as the first step on the path. When we give even a little, we break the chains of greed. We remind ourselves that we have enough, that we can share, that joy grows when spread. Studies in modern psychology confirm this. People who give are happier than those who only receive. Generosity turns money from a source of fear into a source of love. Think of a community where people share. A neighbor lends tools, another cooks a meal, another watches the children. No one is rich, but no one is poor, because wealth is measured in kindness. Compare this to a world where everyone hoards, where everyone competes. Which one feels closer to peace? We must also remember impermanence. Money, like all things, comes and goes. Fortunes rise and fall. Businesses succeed and fail. If we tie our identity to wealth, we will rise and fall with it, like a boat tossed by waves. But if we ground our identity in wisdom and compassion, we remain steady, even when money shifts. This is not just theory. It is survival. In uncertain times, those who can let go and adapt find peace more easily than those who cling desperately. So the question is not, how much money do I have? But how free am I from money's grip? You may have little, but live with joy. You may have much, but live in fear. True wealth is not counted in dollars, but in peace of mind. As we continue, we will explore how to apply this wisdom in daily life. How to handle debt, how to face financial fear, how to transform work from a source of stress into a practice of mindfulness. But first, let us reflect on the deeper truth. Money is not the enemy, and poverty is not the enemy. The real enemy is craving, the endless hunger that says, I am not enough. I do not have enough. I will never be enough. When we silence that voice with awareness and compassion, money loses its power to control us. And with this understanding, we are ready to go deeper. We will face the stories we tell ourselves about money, the emotions that rise when the bills arrive, the shame and pride tied to wealth. We will look at money not as numbers, but as mirrors of our deepest fears and desires. In that mirror, we will find the doorway to freedom. Money is not only paper and coins. It is a story we tell ourselves. From childhood, we absorb beliefs about money. Some hear, money is the root of all evil. Others hear, without money, you are nothing. These beliefs shape the way we work, spend, save, and even love. They live in our subconscious, guiding choices without us even realizing. And often, they create suffering. Think of a child who grows up in poverty. They watch their parents worry about every bill, argue late at night about how to make ends meet. They feel shame when they cannot buy what other children have. As adults, they may carry that shame forever, even when they earn enough. They may overwork, afraid of being poor again, or overspend, trying to prove their worth. On the other hand, a child who grows up in wealth may learn to equate love with gifts, attention with luxury. They may feel entitled, or they may fear losing the comfort they have always known. In both cases, the story of money becomes the story of the self. But these stories are not fixed. The Buddha taught that we are not bound by the past. We can become aware of our conditioning, question it, and transform it. The key is mindfulness. When you feel fear about money, pause and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? Is it true? Does it serve me? Often, the story is exaggerated. If I do not make more, I will lose everything. If I lose my job, I will never recover. These are not truths. They are fears. By shining the light of awareness, we loosen their grip. Debt is another source of deep pain. In today's world, many carry heavy debts from education, housing, or medical care. Debt feels like chains around the neck, a weight that follows into every decision. But even here, the Buddha's wisdom applies. First, see clearly. Debt is real, but it is not the whole of life. It is one aspect of existence, not your identity. Second, take wise action. Plan, budget, seek support, repay step by step. And third, release the extra suffering. Do not add shame, self-hatred, or comparison. The debt may take time to resolve, but peace of mind can begin today. Work is another place where money creates suffering. Many spend more hours at work than at home. They pour energy into tasks that feel meaningless, serving companies that value profit over people. The result is burnout. The Buddha offered a teaching called right livelihood. It means earning a living in a way that does not cause harm, that aligns with compassion and wisdom. Of course, not everyone can change jobs easily. But even within any job, you can practice mindfulness. Bring presence to each task. Treat colleagues with kindness. Remember that your worth is not your job title, not your salary, but your humanity. Let us reflect on a simple truth. Money cannot buy love, cannot buy time, cannot buy peace. How many families are broken because of inheritance fights? How many couples argue endlessly about spending? How many friendships dissolve when wealth creates jealousy? Money, when clung to, divides. But money, when used wisely, can unite. A shared meal, a small gift of kindness, a donation to those in need. These acts transform money into compassion. The Buddha praised generosity because it heals the heart of greed. Imagine holding a seed tightly in your fist. It cannot grow, but if you open your hand and plant it, it becomes a tree that gives shade and fruit. Money is like that seed. When hoarded, it brings fear. When shared, it brings life. Generosity does not mean giving recklessly. It means giving with intention, with love, without expecting reward. Even small acts, $1 to someone in need, a meal shared, time offered, can shift the heart from fear to freedom. Another practice is contentment. In a world that constantly shouts more, contentment whispers, enough. Contentment does not mean laziness or resignation. It means recognizing the difference between need and greed. Do you need a bigger house, or do you need peace in the home you already have? Do you need more clothes, or do you need gratitude for the ones that keep you warm? When you practice contentment, you discover that happiness is not postponed until the next purchase. It is already here, in the present moment. Impermanence must also be remembered. Economic systems rise and fall. Companies expand and collapse. Stock markets soar and crash. If you tie your happiness to financial stability, you will live in constant fear. But if you tie your happiness to wisdom and compassion, nothing can take it away. A storm may shake the branches, but the roots remain firm. Let us imagine two lives. In the first, a man spends his years chasing wealth. He earns much, but he is never satisfied. His relationships suffer, his health declines, his heart is restless. At the end, he looks back and wonders what it was all for. In the second, a woman lives simply. She earns enough to care for herself and her loved ones. She practices generosity, contentment, mindfulness. She laughs often, loves deeply, and faces death with peace. Which life is truly rich? The truth is clear. Money itself is neutral. It can be a tool for harm or a tool for good. The difference lies in the mind. When ruled by craving, money enslaves. When guided by wisdom, money serves. The Buddha showed that freedom does not come from how much you own, but from how lightly you hold dot. So how do we begin to transform our relationship with money today? Start small. Practice one act of generosity. Take one mindful breath before making a purchase. Express gratitude for one simple thing you already have. Over time, these small practices reshape the mind. Fear loosens, peace grows dot, and as we release the grip of money, we discover another truth. Many of our deepest struggles are not about money itself, but about relationships. We fear disappointing loved ones. We argue with partners about spending. We compare ourselves to friends. We tie our worth to how others see our success. Money and relationships are woven together, and both can be sources of pain or sources of freedom dot. As we move forward, we will explore the next great challenge of the modern heart: relationships. How to face the pain of conflict, the loneliness of disconnection, the hunger for love that often leads to suffering. And once again, we will see that the Buddha's wisdom offers not escape, but a path to genuine connection and compassion. Human beings are born into relationships. From the moment we arrive in this world, we seek connection. A baby cries for its mother's touch. A child longs for friendship. An adult yearns for love and belonging. Relationships are the threads that weave the fabric of life. And yet, the very thing we crave most deeply often becomes the greatest source of pain. Think of the countless ways relationships bring suffering. A marriage that begins with joy, but turns into arguments and silence. A friendship that dissolves after betrayal. A parent who feels unappreciated by their children. A child who feels unseen by their parents. Lovers who drift apart. Colleagues who clash. Communities divided by mistrust. The wound of broken connection cuts deep, often deeper than financial struggle or physical hardship. For when the heart is lonely, even wealth and success taste bitter. Modern life makes this suffering sharper. People are more connected digitally than ever, yet more disconnected emotionally. Social media offers endless friends, but little true intimacy. Couples sit at dinner, both staring at their phones, while their souls grow further apart. Families live under one roof, but barely speak. The pace of work leaves little time for nurturing bonds. And when conflict arises, many do not know how to heal. They only know how to fight or how to flee. At the root of relationship suffering lies expectation. We enter relationships with unspoken desires. You should make me happy. You should understand me. You should never hurt me. But the truth is that every person is imperfect. Every heart carries wounds. Every mind has limits. When others fail to meet our expectations, we feel anger, disappointment, even betrayal. We forget that we too fail others, that we too are imperfect. In this clash of expectations, love often turns into blame. The Buddha taught that attachment is the cause of suffering. This is not a call to coldness, but to clarity. When we cling to the idea that another person must complete us, we place a burden on them they cannot carry. No partner, no friend, no child can fill the endless hunger of the ego. True connection arises not from clinging, but from compassion. Compassion sees the other as they are, not as we demand them to be. Compassion says, I see your pain. I see your effort. I accept your humanity. Let us imagine two couples. In the first, each partner blames the other for their unhappiness. Every mistake becomes proof of failure. Words are sharp. Silence is heavy. Love turns into resentment. In the second couple, each partner practices compassion. They still disagree, still face struggles, but they listen with patience. They ask, what are you feeling? How can I support you? They forgive quickly, understanding that hurt comes not from malice, but from misunderstanding. Which couple will endure? Which couple will grow? Relationships also suffer because of ego. The ego wants to be right, to win, to be admired. In conflict, the ego shouts, defend yourself, attack, never admit fault. But the Buddha taught humility, to see clearly, to let go of pride, to choose peace over victory. Imagine two people arguing. Both insist they are right. The fight grows hotter. But what happens if one pauses, breathes, and says, maybe I misunderstood. Let me listen. In that moment, the fire cools. Listening is more powerful than winning. Loneliness is another wound. Many people feel alone, even in relationships. They may be surrounded by others, but still feel unseen, unheard. Loneliness whispers, I am not important. I do not belong. This pain drives some to chase unhealthy relationships, to settle for those who harm them, simply to escape the silence. But the Buddha taught that true belonging begins within. If you cannot be at peace with yourself, no partner can fill the void. Solitude practiced with mindfulness becomes a medicine, turning loneliness into self-discovery. In silence, you learn to be your own friend. And from that inner strength, you can build healthier connections with others. Not another source of suffering is grasping at permanence. We want relationships to last forever, unchanged. But all things are impermanent. People grow, change, sometimes drift apart. When we cling to forever, we resist reality. This resistance creates bitterness. Acceptance of impermanence allows love to flow more freely. When you know a flower will not bloom forever, you cherish its beauty while it lasts. When you know a loved one's time is limited, you treasure each moment together. Impermanence does not diminish love. It deepens it. The Buddha offered a practice called loving kindness, or metta. It begins with sending kindness to yourself. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be at peace. Then you extend it to others. May you be happy. May you be safe. May you be at peace. Even to those who hurt you, you extend it. May you be free from suffering. Loving kindness softens the heart, dissolves resentment, and opens the door to reconciliation. Think of a family torn apart by anger. Years of silence have grown between siblings. One day, one sibling begins to practice loving kindness meditation, silently sending goodwill to the other. Slowly, their heart softens. One day, they reach out with a simple message. I hope you are well. The other responds. The wall begins to crumble. This is not magic. It is the natural result of softening the heart. Jealousy is another poison in relationships. We see others loved, others praised, others successful, and we feel small. Jealousy whispers, I am less. I am not enough. The Buddha taught mudita, sympathetic joy. It means rejoicing in the happiness of others. When your friend succeeds, you celebrate. When your partner shines, you smile. This practice transforms jealousy into inspiration. The success of others does not diminish you. It enriches the world. Forgiveness is also essential. Holding grudges is like carrying burning coals in your hands, waiting to throw them at someone else. But all the while, you are the one being burned. Forgiveness does not mean excusing harm. It means releasing the poison from your own heart. It means saying, I choose peace over resentment. Forgiveness frees both you and the other person, even if they never apologize. Modern culture often treats relationships as disposable. If a partner does not meet expectations, move on. If a friend disappoints, cut them off. There is wisdom in setting boundaries, but there is also wisdom in patience. The Buddha spoke of right effort, the energy to cultivate what is good and heal what is broken. Relationships require effort, listening, patience, kindness, forgiveness. Without these, no bond can last. With them, even wounds can become doors to deeper intimacy. At the heart of Buddhist wisdom is interdependence. No one exists alone. Every breath depends on trees. Every meal depends on farmers, rain, sun, earth. Every smile depends on countless unseen hands. In the same way, every relationship is a web of causes and conditions. When we see this interdependence, we become humble. We realize that our happiness is tied to the happiness of others. To harm them is to harm ourselves. To help them is to help ourselves. As we close this first half of exploring relationships, let us remember, the pain of broken bonds, of loneliness, of conflict is real. But so is the possibility of healing. Through compassion, humility, loving kindness, forgiveness, and awareness, relationships can become not prisons of suffering, but gardens of growth. The journey is not easy, but it is possible. And as we continue, we will go deeper into the practical ways to heal relationships, the art of communication, the courage to be vulnerable, the wisdom of setting boundaries with love. For now, let us pause, breathe, and remember that every connection begins with the heart we bring to it. Relationships are built and broken on words. Words can heal, or words can wound. A gentle phrase can soften anger, while a harsh remark can ignite years of resentment. Many people long for deeper connection, yet they do not know how to speak in a way that invites love, or how to listen in a way that shows care. Communication is the bridge of every relationship, but too often, that bridge is weak or broken. The Buddha taught the practice of right speech. Right speech means speaking truthfully, kindly, and with purpose. It is not just about avoiding lies. It is about using words as instruments of peace. Before speaking, we can pause and ask, is this true? Is this kind? Is this necessary? If not, silence is wiser. Think of how many arguments could be softened if we paused before shouting words we later regret. Silence, chosen with compassion, is often more healing than words spoken in anger. But communication is not only about speaking. It is also about listening. Most people do not listen to understand. They listen to reply. Their minds race ahead, preparing counter-arguments, defending their ego. True listening is different. It is giving full attention, emptying oneself of judgment, opening the heart to another's pain. When someone feels truly heard, walls begin to fall. Sometimes, people do not need advice. They need presence. To sit quietly, to nod gently, to say, I understand. These simple acts can heal wounds that years of talking could not. Vulnerability is another doorway to intimacy. Many relationships suffer because people hide behind masks. They fear showing weakness, fear rejection, fear judgment. But real love cannot touch a mask. It can only touch a heart. Vulnerability says, this is who I am, imperfect, uncertain, afraid, and I trust you enough to share it. When one person dares to be vulnerable, it invites the other to do the same. Behind the mask of perfection lies the human truth. Everyone struggles, everyone longs for acceptance. Vulnerability does not weaken relationships. It strengthens them. Boundaries are equally important. Compassion does not mean allowing harm. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating abuse. The Buddha taught the middle path, and in relationships, this means balancing closeness with self-respect. Boundaries are not walls. They are doors. They say, I love you, and this is how I can love you without losing myself. A relationship without boundaries suffocates. A relationship with harsh walls isolates. But a relationship with healthy boundaries breathes. Consider the story of a woman whose partner often spoke harshly to her. She practiced patience, thinking compassion meant enduring everything. But over time, her heart broke and resentment grew. One day, she realized compassion must include herself. She spoke firmly, I love you, but I will not allow you to treat me this way. At first, her partner resisted, but slowly he understood. Their relationship shifted. By honoring her boundary, she invited respect and growth. This is the power of wise boundaries. They protect love by protecting dignity. Forgiveness is the balm that heals deep wounds. Without forgiveness, the past becomes a prison. Every mistake, every betrayal, every harsh word is replayed, poisoning the present. But forgiveness is not forgetting, and it is not condoning harm. It is the decision to release the grip of resentment. Imagine holding a burning coal. You plan to throw it at someone who hurt you. But as long as you hold it, you are the one burning. Forgiveness is dropping the coal. It frees the other, but most of all, it frees you. Yet forgiveness is not always instant. It is a process, sometimes long, sometimes painful. It begins with understanding. When you look deeply, you may see that the person who hurt you was also hurting, acting from ignorance, fear, or pain. This does not excuse the action, but it explains it. Compassion grows from understanding, and forgiveness grows from compassion. Another practice is seeing impermanence in relationships. People change. Sometimes they grow closer, sometimes they grow apart. Holding tightly to how things should be creates suffering. Accepting change creates freedom. A friendship may fade, but the love shared was real. A romance may end, but the lessons remain. When we let go with grace, we honor what was without clinging to what can no longer be. Jealousy and comparison are also poisons in relationships. We compare our partners, our families, our lives to those of others, and we feel inadequate. But comparison blinds us to the unique beauty of our own connections. No relationship is perfect. Every relationship has its struggles. Social media shows the highlights, never the full story. The Buddha taught mudita, sympathetic joy. Instead of comparing, we can celebrate. Instead of envying another's happiness, we can rejoice in it. Joy multiplies when shared. Relationships flourish in the soil of gratitude. Instead of focusing only on what is missing, we can remember what is present. A smile, a shared meal, a small act of care, these are treasures. When we speak gratitude out loud, we water the seeds of love. Thank you for listening. I appreciate what you did. I am glad you are here. These simple words nurture bonds more than grand gestures ever could. Conflict, when approached with mindfulness, can become growth. Two stones striking can create sparks. Those sparks can burn, or they can light a fire to warm the home. When conflict arises, the practice is not to avoid it, but to enter it with awareness. Pause, breathe, listen, speak with kindness. Ask not, how can I win? But how can we understand? In this way, conflict becomes a teacher, showing where growth is needed, where compassion is lacking, where love can deepen. The Buddha often spoke of interbeing, that we exist in relationship to everything. A flower cannot bloom without sun, rain, soil, and countless unseen conditions. In the same way, A person cannot live without others. Every relationship is a mirror, showing us parts of ourselves we cannot see alone. When someone praises us, we see our light. When someone criticizes us, we see our shadow. Both are teachers. Relationships are not only for comfort, they are for awakening. As we end this part of our journey, let us remember, relationships will always carry both joy and pain. To love is to risk hurt, but to avoid love is to guarantee emptiness. The path is not to escape relationships, but to transform how we enter them, with compassion, with boundaries, with forgiveness, with gratitude. And as we learn to soften the wounds of relationship, another challenge arises, one that often lives quietly inside, even when surrounded by others: anxiety. Anxiety is the restless mind that does not stop, the fear that whispers in the night, the constant what if that steals peace. In the next part, we will step into this silent storm and discover how the teachings of mindfulness and presence can calm the anxious heart. Anxiety is the quiet storm within. It is not always visible to others, yet it roars loudly in the mind. For some, it is a constant hum, a nervous energy that never turns off. For others, it arrives like waves, crashing suddenly with racing heart, trembling hands, and restless thoughts. Anxiety asks endless questions. What if I fail? What if something bad happens? What if I am not enough? These questions rarely have answers, yet they circle the mind like vultures, feeding on fear. Modern life has made anxiety almost universal. Deadlines, financial pressures, social expectations, global uncertainty. All these fuel the anxious mind. Even in quiet moments, many cannot rest. They check their phones, scroll through news, worry about tomorrow. At night, instead of sleep, their thoughts replay mistakes of the past or imagine disasters of the future. The body lies in bed, but the mind runs a marathon. Anxiety is not only mental, it is physical. The chest tightens, the breath shortens, the stomach knots, the heart races. These sensations convince the mind that danger is near, which increases fear, which increases the body's reaction. It becomes a cycle. Fear creates symptoms, symptoms create more fear. Over time, anxiety drains energy, weakens health, and steals joy. The Buddha understood this suffering. He described the restless mind as a monkey, always jumping from branch to branch, never still. Anxiety is the monkey on fire, leaping wildly, burning everything it touches. But the Buddha also offered a way to calm the monkey: mindfulness. Mindfulness means paying full attention to the present moment, without judgment, without chasing thoughts, without running from feelings. When the anxious mind races into the future, mindfulness brings it back to now. When the body shakes with fear, mindfulness grounds it in the breath. When the heart feels trapped, mindfulness opens a window of calm. This does not mean anxiety disappears instantly. It means we learn to meet anxiety differently, not as an enemy to be fought, but as a messenger to be understood. Imagine sitting by a river. The water rushes by, carrying leaves, branches, foam. Thoughts are like that river. Anxiety throws in branches of what if and leaves of fear. Normally, we jump into the river, grabbed by each branch, dragged by each leaf. But mindfulness teaches us to sit on the bank, watching the water flow. We do not stop the river, but we no longer drown in it. Breath is the anchor. When anxiety rises, the mind screams, "Danger!" But often, there is no real danger, only imagined scenarios. By focusing on slow, deep breaths, we signal safety to the body. Inhale gently through the nose, feel the belly expand, hold for a moment, exhale slowly through the mouth. This simple act tells the nervous system, I am safe, I am here. Each breath is a hand reaching into the storm, calming the waves. Another powerful practice is labeling. When a thought arises, What if I lose my job? What if I get sick? Instead of believing it, we label it. This is worry. When the heart races, we label it. This is fear. Labeling creates space. It reminds us that we are not the thought, not the feeling. We are the awareness noticing them. Just as clouds pass across the sky, anxiety passes through the mind. Awareness is the sky, vast, steady, unchanged. Anxiety often grows from resistance. We fear fear itself. We think, I should not feel this way, something is wrong with me. But pushing anxiety away only makes it stronger. The Buddha taught the power of acceptance. When anxiety arises, instead of saying, go away, we can say, I see you. I know you are here. Strangely, when welcomed with kindness, anxiety begins to soften. It loses its sharpness. Acceptance turns fear into a teacher. Consider the story of a young monk plagued by anxiety. Each night, his mind raced with fear of failure, fear of the future. He went to his teacher and begged for relief. The teacher said, sit quietly, invite your fear for tea. Do not chase it away. Listen to it. The monk resisted, but eventually he tried. Each night he sat and said, welcome, fear. Sit with me. Over time, the fear lost its power. It became like a guest who visited, but no longer controlled the house. This is the art of befriending anxiety. Gratitude is also a medicine. Anxiety narrows vision, focusing only on danger. Gratitude widens it, reminding us of blessings. In the middle of fear, pause and name 3 things you are thankful for: the breath in your lungs, the support of a friend, the warmth of the sun. Gratitude shifts the mind from scarcity to abundance, from fear to trust. It does not erase anxiety, but it balances it. Compassion is essential too. Anxiety often brings shame. People think, I am weak. I should be stronger. But shame only adds weight to fear. Compassion says, I am human. I am doing my best. May I be kind to myself in this moment. Imagine holding the anxious self like a child, not scolding, but soothing. This self-compassion transforms anxiety from enemy to ally. Modern science confirms what the Buddha taught. Mindfulness reduces anxiety. Studies show that meditation lowers stress hormones, calms the nervous system, and rewires the brain. But beyond science, the experience is personal. Those who practice mindfulness discover an inner refuge, a calm center untouched by storms. Anxiety will visit. That is certain, but it does not have to rule. By breathing, labeling, accepting, practicing gratitude, and showing compassion, we change our relationship with anxiety. We stop drowning in the river and learn to sit on the bank. We stop fearing fear and begin to understand it. We stop running and begin to rest not as we continue. We will dive deeper into practical ways to live with anxiety. How to handle panic attacks. How to create daily habits of calm. How to replace the restless what if with the steady what is. And as we ease the anxious heart, we prepare for the next challenge, the weight of depression and emptiness, the heavy fog that settles when anxiety drains all hope. Anxiety is not only about the future, it is also about control. The anxious mind wants certainty. It wants to know how things will turn out, to prepare for every possible danger. But life cannot be controlled. No one knows what tomorrow will bring. The more we try to hold on, the more anxious we become. The Buddha taught impermanence. Everything changes, nothing is fixed. When we accept this, we release the impossible demand for certainty. We learn to flow with life instead of fighting against it. One simple but powerful practice is grounding. When the mind races with what ifs, bring attention back to the body. Feel your feet on the ground, the chair beneath you, the breath moving in and out. Look around and name 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you feel, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. This practice brings the mind out of imagined danger into present reality. Often, the present moment is safe. Anxiety lives in imagination. Peace lives in presence. Another practice is journaling. Write down the fears spinning in your head. On paper, they often lose power. You can look at them clearly, ask if they are real, question if they are useful. Some worries are baseless. Others point to actions you can take. By separating real concerns from imagined ones, you free yourself from endless spinning. The Buddha called this clear seeing. Wisdom that cuts through illusion. Rituals of calm are also important. The anxious mind thrives in chaos, so create structure. Begin the day with a few breaths, a short meditation, or a quiet walk. End the day by listing 3 blessings, no matter how small. These rituals train the mind to return to calm, like paths worn into a forest. Over time, the anxious mind learns to rest more easily. Panic attacks are one of anxiety's sharpest expressions. The heart races, breath shortens, dizziness rises, the mind screams, "I am dying." But panic, though terrifying, is not fatal. It is the body's alarm system misfiring. The Buddha taught awareness of the body, and this can guide us through panic. When the wave rises, notice, this is a panic attack. My body feels danger, but I am safe. Breathe slowly. Place a hand on the heart. Repeat gently, this will pass. Like a storm, it always passes. Each time you endure, you grow stronger. Community also helps. Anxiety isolates, convincing us we must hide our fears. But sharing lifts the weight. Speaking to a friend, a counselor, or a group reminds us we are not alone. The Buddha emphasized Sangha, community, as one of the 3 refuges. Alone, anxiety feels overwhelming. Together, we find strength. Even a single compassionate listener can turn panic into peace. Nature is another healer. Anxiety often comes from living in constant noise, screens, traffic, demands. Walking among trees, sitting by water, listening to birdsong brings the mind back to simplicity. The Buddha often taught in forests, under open skies. Nature whispers of impermanence, of balance, of belonging. When the anxious mind softens into nature, it remembers, I am part of this vast, living web. Anxiety also weakens when we shift focus from fear to service. When we only think of ourselves, our failures, our dangers, fear grows. But when we extend care to others, fear shrinks. A kind word, a helping hand, a simple smile, these acts pull us out of the prison of self. Compassion is not only a gift to others, it is medicine for our own restless hearts. Modern science calls this shift neuroplasticity. The brain rewires itself through practice. The Buddha called it cultivation, planting seeds of peace instead of fear. Each time you choose to breathe, to ground, to accept, you plant a seed. Over time, the seeds grow into a forest of calm. Anxiety may still visit, but it no longer rules. Still, we must acknowledge, anxiety often leads into darker valleys. When fear drains hope, when restlessness turns into exhaustion, the heart may sink into depression. Depression feels like the opposite of anxiety, not racing but heavy, not restless but numb. Yet they are twins, born of the same mind, struggling to find peace. Many who battle anxiety also battle depression. The storm of fear becomes the fog of despair. The Buddha did not ignore despair. He faced suffering directly and taught that even in the darkest moments, light is possible. Anxiety shows us the chaos of craving for control. Depression shows us the emptiness when craving collapses. Both are teachers. Both invite us to look deeply, to see clearly, to live wisely. As we close this part, let us carry the practices we have learned. Breathe deeply when fear rises. Ground yourself when the mind spins. Label thoughts gently. Accept them with compassion. Release the demand for certainty. Build rituals of calm. Seek community. Embrace nature. Serve others. Anxiety may return, but each time you will meet it with greater strength, greater wisdom, greater peace. And now we take the next step. Having faced the restless storm of anxiety, we turn toward the heavy fog of depression, the numbness, the emptiness, the loss of meaning that afflicts so many. In the next part, we will walk into that darkness, carrying the light of mindfulness and compassion, discovering how Buddhist wisdom can transform even despair into a path toward hope. Depression is not loud like anger, not restless like anxiety. It is quiet, heavy, and suffocating. For some, it feels like sinking in quicksand, every movement harder than the last, every breath a struggle. For others, it feels like a fog, blurring all color, stealing all joy, leaving life dull and meaningless. Depression whispers lies. You are worthless. Nothing will ever change. The world would be better without you. These lies are not truth, but in the darkness, they feel real. Modern life has made depression more common than ever. Despite technology, wealth, and opportunity, many feel deeply alone. Studies show rising numbers of people, especially the young, struggling with hopelessness. They scroll through social media, comparing themselves to images of perfection, and sink deeper into self-judgment. They work long hours, chasing success, but find no satisfaction. They fill their schedules with distractions, but when silence comes, the emptiness remains. Depression thrives in this silence, convincing the mind that meaning is gone. To those who have never felt depression, it may seem like simple sadness. But sadness is temporary, like a rainstorm that passes. Depression is different. It lingers. It drains energy, motivation, desire. Even small tasks, brushing teeth, making food, answering a call, feel impossible. Joy seems unreachable. The future looks like a long tunnel with no exit. Depression is not just sadness. It is the absence of light. The Buddha did not use the modern word, depression, but he understood suffering in its deepest forms. He saw that all beings experience dukkha, the unsatisfactoriness of life, the pain of existence. He himself faced despair. Before enlightenment, he lived in luxury, yet felt empty. He left his palace to seek answers, wandering in hardship, at times facing hopelessness. His awakening was not denial of suffering, but direct confrontation. He showed that even in the darkest night, a dawn is possible. How does Buddhist wisdom help with depression? First, by teaching impermanence. Depression convinces us that the darkness will last forever. But nothing lasts forever. Every state of mind, no matter how heavy, changes. Clouds may cover the sky, but the sun is still there. The clouds will pass. Remembering impermanence creates a small crack in the wall of despair. It whispers, "This too will pass." Second, mindfulness offers a tool. Depression often pulls the mind into the past, regrets, mistakes, failures, or into the future, fear, hopelessness, dread. Mindfulness anchors us in the present. It says, "Do not carry the whole past. Do not predict the whole future. Just be here, in this breath, in this step." Even one mindful breath can bring a moment of relief. And in depression, a moment of relief is precious. Third, compassion is vital. Depression feeds on self-hatred. It says, "You are broken. You should be better. You are unlovable." The antidote is compassion. The Buddha taught metta, loving kindness. We can begin with simple words. May I be safe. May I be at peace. May I find ease. At first, the words may feel empty, but repeated gently, like water dripping on stone, they begin to soften the heart. Compassion is the medicine for despair. Consider the story of a man who felt crushed by depression. He tried to meditate, but every time he sat, his mind filled with dark thoughts. He felt like a failure. One day, a teacher told him, "Do not fight the darkness. Sit with it. Hold it like a child who is crying." So he sat, and instead of pushing away his pain, he placed his hand on his heart and whispered, "I am here with you." Slowly, he felt a shift. The darkness did not vanish, but it softened. He realized he could survive. This is the power of compassion. Another practice is finding meaning in small things. Depression convinces us that nothing matters. But meaning can be found in the smallest acts. Watering a plant, feeding a pet, smiling at a stranger. The Buddha taught that even the smallest act of kindness has value. When depressed, life feels too heavy to change all at once. But one small act at a time creates a path forward. Community is also crucial. Depression isolates. It says no one understands. Stay alone. But isolation deepens the pain. The Buddha emphasized Sangha, community, as essential for healing. Sharing pain with a trusted friend, a counselor, or a group can lift the weight. Hearing the words, "I understand, you are not alone," can be life-saving. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is reaching out. Nature, too, is medicine. Depression shrinks the world, making it small and gray. But stepping outside, feeling sunlight, hearing birds, touching the earth, reminds us of life beyond the mind's prison. The Buddha found enlightenment under a tree, surrounded by nature. Trees, rivers, mountains remind us of cycles: growth, decay, renewal. In their presence, the heart remembers hope. Of course, depression is not always healed by meditation or sunlight alone. Sometimes professional help is needed: therapy, medicine, guidance. The Buddha taught skillful means, using whatever tools lead to relief. Seeking help is not weakness. It is wisdom. Just as a sick body may need medicine, a suffering mind may need support. As we face depression, we must also face the illusion of self. Depression convinces us, "I am worthless. I am broken." But the Buddha taught that the self is not fixed. Thoughts and feelings come and go. They are not who we are. Depression is not identity. It is a passing state. We can learn to say, "This is depression, but this is not me." This shift creates space for healing. Still, we must acknowledge the pain honestly. Pretending to be fine only deepens the wound. The path begins with truth. I am suffering. This honesty opens the door to compassion, to help, to hope. The Buddha's first noble truth is that suffering exists. To admit suffering is not weakness. It is the first step to freedom. As we continue, we will explore more deeply how to live with depression, how to build daily practices of light, how to transform emptiness into openness, how to find hope even in despair. Depression may be heavy, but it is not the end of the story. The path of wisdom and compassion leads forward, one step at a time. Depression often disguises itself as emptiness. Not the gentle emptiness of peace, but the heavy emptiness of meaninglessness. A person may wake up and feel nothing. Food tastes dull. Music feels flat. Laughter from others seems distant, unreachable. The mind whispers, "What is the point?" This emptiness is more painful than sadness, because sadness at least feels alive. Emptiness feels like absence. Absence of joy, absence of color, absence of hope. The Buddha knew this kind of emptiness. Before his awakening, he lived in luxury, surrounded by pleasure, yet he felt hollow. All the wealth, power, and comfort could not fill the void. He saw sickness, aging, and death, and he realized that chasing pleasure could not stop suffering. His journey was not about escaping life, but about transforming emptiness into insight. For Buddhist wisdom teaches, There are two kinds of emptiness. One is despair, the feeling that nothing matters. The other is freedom, the understanding that nothing is fixed, nothing is separate, and therefore everything is possible. How do we move from the emptiness of despair to the emptiness of freedom? The first step is to stop running. Depression tempts us to escape through distraction, addiction, endless scrolling, or sleep without rest. But escape only deepens the void. The Buddha taught that healing begins with turning toward the pain, not away. Sit with it, acknowledge it. This is emptiness. This is despair. Naming it is the first act of courage. Then bring in mindfulness. Depression says, the whole of life is meaningless. Mindfulness says, what about this breath? What about this sip of tea? What about this small act of kindness? When life feels too heavy to carry, break it down into moments. You do not have to carry the whole future. You only need to carry this moment, this breath. Slowly, moments of presence add up. Slowly, the fog thins. Compassion is essential here. Depression often comes with harsh self-criticism. I should be stronger. I am a burden. I am a failure. These thoughts cut deeper than the depression itself. The Buddha's practice of loving kindness counters this. Sit quietly, place your hand on your heart, and repeat, may I find peace. May I be gentle with myself. May I be free from suffering. At first, the words may feel false, but repetition plants seeds. Over time, those seeds grow into tenderness. Connection is another path out of emptiness. Depression isolates. It tells you to withdraw, to hide, to stay silent. But healing requires community. The Buddha emphasized Sangha because he knew no one can heal alone. Reach out, even with small steps. Send a message to a friend. Share a meal. Join a group. When others remind you, you are not alone. The emptiness begins to crack. Service also brings light. Depression makes the self the center of suffering. My pain, my emptiness. Turning outward shifts the view. Volunteer, help a neighbor, offer a smile to a stranger. Service does not erase depression, but it opens windows. It reminds the heart, I can still give, I can still love, I can still matter. The Buddha taught that compassion for others heals ourselves as much as it heals them. Gratitude is another small but powerful practice. Depression says nothing is good. Gratitude whispers, look again. Each day, write down one thing you are thankful for. A sunrise, a kind word, the taste of water. At first, it may feel forced, but slowly the list grows. Gratitude shifts the lens from emptiness to presence. It does not deny pain, but it balances it with beauty, and we must remember impermanence. Depression convinces us the darkness will never end, but feelings are waves. They rise and fall. Clouds cover the sky, but the sun remains. Every winter ends in spring. The Buddha taught that all things are transient. Even despair will change. Holding to this truth can give just enough hope to keep moving. There is also wisdom in seeking professional help. Just as the body sometimes needs medicine, the mind sometimes needs therapy, counseling, or medical support. The Buddha spoke of skillful means, using whatever tools lead to healing. Seeking help is not weakness. It is strength. It is the courage to say, I deserve to live. Consider the story of a woman who lived for years in depression. She felt worthless, isolated, ready to give up. But slowly, she began small practices. One mindful breath, one note of gratitude, one walk outside, one conversation with a friend. Over time, the practices became habits, the habits became strength, and the strength became hope. Her life did not become free of suffering, but it became filled with meaning. She discovered what the Buddha taught. Suffering can be transformed into wisdom. Depression is heavy, But it can also be a teacher. It teaches the limits of pleasure, the fragility of ego, the need for compassion. It strips away illusions, forcing us to ask, what truly matters? If faced with courage and kindness, depression can lead to deeper awakening. Out of emptiness, we can grow freedom. Out of despair, we can grow compassion. As we close this part, let us reflect. Depression is real, and its pain is deep, but it is not permanent. It is not identity. It is a passing storm, a dark night before dawn. Through mindfulness, compassion, connection, service, gratitude, impermanence, and professional support, the path forward appears. The Buddha's wisdom is not a magic cure, but a steady light. It says, do not give up. Breathe, be kind, keep walking. And as we step forward, we see the next challenge of the human heart, the search for meaning. For even when the fog lifts, the question remains, why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? This longing can be painful, but it is also the beginning of awakening. In the next part, we will explore how Buddhist wisdom transforms the hunger for meaning into a path of freedom and fulfillment. There comes a moment in many lives when the question arises, why am I here? It may come in youth, when the excitement of new beginnings is clouded by uncertainty. It may come in midlife, when achievements no longer satisfy. It may come in old age, when the horizon shortens and the weight of mortality presses in. This question, the search for meaning, is both universal and deeply personal. And when it remains unanswered, it can cause immense suffering. Modern society pushes many answers: success, wealth, pleasure, recognition. People are told, find your purpose in your career. Find your identity in your possessions. Find your happiness in your relationships. For a while, these answers seem convincing. But then something shifts. The career no longer excites. The possessions lose their shine. The relationships, though important, cannot fill the endless hunger inside. And so, a quiet despair grows. Is this all there is? This despair is not rare. It is common. Some call it an existential crisis. Others call it burnout, emptiness, or a midlife crisis. Whatever the name, the feeling is the same. Life feels hollow. Each day looks like the last, and the future offers no new light. Without a sense of purpose, the heart weakens, the mind drifts, and even small challenges feel overwhelming. The Buddha faced this very crisis. As a young prince, he had everything society said should bring meaning: wealth, power, family, pleasure. Yet he felt empty. He saw suffering, sickness, aging, death, and realized that no worldly achievement could prevent these truths. His search for meaning began not in abundance, but in disillusionment. He left his palace, not to escape life, but to understand it. His story reminds us, the crisis of meaning is not the end. It is the beginning of awakening. Why do we crave meaning so deeply? Because human beings are not satisfied with survival alone. Food, shelter, safety are essential. But once those needs are met, the soul longs for more. We want to belong, to matter, to live for something beyond ourselves. Without this, life feels like a treadmill, constant motion, no destination. But here is the paradox. The more we chase meaning in external things, the more it slips away. The Buddha taught that craving, even the craving for meaning, can cause suffering. True meaning is not found by grasping at the world. It is found by seeing clearly into the nature of life. When we stop asking, what can I get? And begin asking, how can I live with wisdom and compassion? The answer begins to unfold. Let us imagine two people. The first believes meaning comes only from grand achievements. They want to build an empire, leave a legacy, be remembered. They work endlessly, sacrifice relationships, chase recognition. At the end, they may succeed, but their heart feels empty, for the hunger never ends. The second person finds meaning in small acts, caring for family, helping neighbors, living with kindness. They may not be famous, but they live with peace. Which life is richer? The Buddha offered a radical perspective. Meaning is not something to be found, but something to be lived. It is not waiting in the future, after success, after recognition, after some grand event. It is here, in this moment, in how you treat yourself, in how you treat others, in how you meet the reality of life. When you live with awareness and compassion, every moment becomes meaningful. This does not mean abandoning goals. It means seeing goals clearly without clinging. Work can be meaningful if done with mindfulness. Relationships can be meaningful if rooted in compassion. Service can be meaningful if motivated by love, not ego. The Buddha called this right intention, acting not out of greed, hatred, or delusion, but out of wisdom and kindness. For many, the search for meaning is tied to identity. Who am I? But the Buddha challenged this very question. He taught that the self is not fixed. We are not one unchanging thing. We are a flow of thoughts, feelings, actions, relationships. Identity is not a prison. It is a process. When we cling to rigid identities, I am my job, I am my role, I am my success, we suffer when those identities shift. But when we see identity as fluid, we find freedom. We realize we are not just one thing. We are life itself, interconnected with all dot. This shift transforms the crisis of meaning. Instead of asking, "What is my purpose?" as if it were a single answer carved in stone, we can ask, "How can I live this moment with compassion and awareness?" Purpose becomes not a destination, but a practice. Each breath, each act of kindness, each step of mindfulness is purpose itself. Consider a gardener. They may not become famous. Their work may not last forever. But as they tend the soil, nurture plants, and share food with others, their life radiates meaning. The garden is not eternal, but the care is real. In the same way, our actions may not be eternal, but their impact is real, and in that impact, meaning is found. The Buddha also taught about emptiness or shunyata. To Western ears, emptiness may sound negative, but in Buddhism, it is liberation. It means nothing exists independently. Everything is connected. This teaching dissolves the fear of meaninglessness. If all is connected, then every act, no matter how small, has meaning. A smile to a stranger ripples outward. A kind word echoes for years. Nothing stands alone, and therefore nothing is meaningless. Another practice is service. When we live only for ourselves, meaning shrinks. When we live for others, meaning expands. The Buddha devoted his life not to luxury, but to service, guiding others toward peace. In modern life, service may be caring for children, helping a friend, volunteering, creating beauty through art. Service shifts the question from what do I gain to what do I give? And in giving, the heart feels whole. Yet, we must also address the pain of those who feel their lives are too small, too ordinary to matter. Many think, I am not special. I have no great purpose. But Buddhist wisdom reminds us, there is no such thing as a small life. Each person is a thread in the vast web of existence. Each action matters. The smile of a parent to a child, the patience of a nurse, the honesty of a worker. These are not small. They shape the world in unseen ways. As we close this first half of exploring meaning, let us reflect. The crisis of purpose is real, but it is not hopeless. It is the beginning of awakening, the sign that the soul longs for truth beyond material illusions. The Buddha's path shows us that meaning is not found in grand achievements, but in daily practice, mindfulness, compassion, service, awareness of interconnection. And as we move forward, we will go deeper. We will explore practical ways to cultivate purpose, daily practices, mindful work, compassionate relationships, creative expression. We will see how meaning is not something to wait for, but something to live now. And from this living, the hunger for purpose transforms into peace. The search for meaning does not end with a single revelation. It is a journey, often winding, filled with both clarity and confusion. Many people wait for a dramatic sign, a life-changing mission, a voice of destiny, a perfect calling. But more often, meaning is discovered not in grand moments, but in ordinary ones. The Buddha taught that every step on the path can be sacred if walked with mindfulness. Purpose is not only found on mountain peaks. It is also found in washing dishes, caring for loved ones, breathing with awareness. Let us look more closely at daily life. Work, for many, is a source of frustration. People wake up each day, drag themselves to jobs that feel meaningless, and wonder if this is all life has to offer. But the Buddha's teaching of right livelihood offers a shift. Right livelihood does not mean only noble professions. It means approaching work with integrity and mindfulness. Even simple tasks, serving food, building homes, cleaning streets, can be meaningful when done with care and compassion. The value is not in status, but in intention. A janitor who works with kindness and pride may live with deeper meaning than a wealthy executive consumed by greed. Relationships are another place where meaning grows. When we see our lives only through the lens of personal gain, everything feels small. But when we see how our presence touches others, even small acts shine. A parent comforting a child, a friend offering a listening ear, a partner showing patience. These create ripples of meaning that last long beyond the moment. The Buddha reminded us that we exist in interdependence. What we do matters not because it is grand, but because it is connected. Creativity is also a source of meaning. Writing, painting, music, gardening, building. These are not only hobbies, but expressions of the soul. They remind us that meaning is not always found in consumption, but in creation. To bring something into the world that did not exist before, whether a piece of art or a gesture of kindness, is to affirm life. The Buddha himself used creativity in teaching, telling stories, parables, and metaphors to awaken understanding. Creativity bridges the heart and the world. Still, meaning is not only about action. It is also about being. Many think, I must achieve to matter. But the Buddha taught that worth is inherent, not earned. A tree has meaning simply by existing, giving shade, producing oxygen, offering beauty. In the same way, each person has meaning simply by being alive, by being part of the great web of life. The anxious striving to prove worth blinds us to this truth. When we stop striving to matter, we begin to see that we already do. Mindfulness transforms ordinary experiences into sources of meaning. Drinking a cup of tea can be an act of purpose when done with awareness. Each sip becomes a reminder of the sun that warmed the leaves, the rain that nourished them, the hands that harvested and prepared them. In this way, tea is not just tea. It is connection to the entire world. This awareness turns even the simplest acts into sacred practices. Gratitude also reveals meaning. When we pause each day to notice what we have, a roof overhead, food to eat, people to love, we remember that life itself is a gift. Gratitude shifts focus from what is missing to what is present. It reminds us that meaning does not always have to be created. Often, it only has to be noticed. The Buddha taught that joy comes not from getting more, but from appreciating what already is. Another practice is reflection on impermanence. Many people fear change, but impermanence is meaning to life. If moments lasted forever, they would lose their value. It is because life is fragile and fleeting that it is precious. The Buddha encouraged reflection on death, not to create fear, but to inspire urgency. When we remember that time is short, we live more fully. We speak the kind word, offer the hug, take the step toward compassion. Awareness of impermanence makes every moment meaningful. Service is perhaps the clearest doorway to purpose. When life feels empty, turning outward brings fullness. Helping others reminds us that we are needed, that our presence makes a difference. The Buddha spent his life in service, not because he needed recognition, but because compassion naturally flowed from his awakening. Service need not be dramatic. It can be small, feeding a hungry animal, donating to those in need, smiling at someone in despair. Each act of service enlarges the heart and deepens meaning. We must also acknowledge that meaning shifts over time. What feels purposeful at 20 may not at 40. Raising children, building careers, caring for parents, mentoring others. Each stage brings new expressions of meaning. The Buddha taught the middle way: balance, flexibility, openness. When we cling to one rigid idea of purpose, we suffer. When we allow meaning to evolve, we grow with life. Ultimately, the deepest meaning arises when we move beyond the self. As long as meaning is tied to ego, to fame, wealth, recognition, it remains fragile. But when meaning is tied to compassion and awareness, it becomes unshakable. The Buddha found meaning not in what he gained, but in what he gave: the gift of freedom, the gift of wisdom, the gift of peace. His example shows us that the highest purpose is not to be remembered, but to awaken and to help others awaken. As we end this part of our journey, let us reflect. The crisis of meaning is painful, but it is also a doorway. It asks us to look beyond illusions of wealth and status, to discover purpose in mindfulness, compassion, creativity, gratitude, impermanence, and service. Meaning is not far away. It is here, in this breath, in this act, in this life. And as we turn forward, the search for meaning leads naturally to the question of freedom. If life is to be meaningful, how can it also be free? How can we live without chains of craving, fear, and attachment? In the next part, we will explore the heart of inner freedom, the liberation that comes not from escape, but from living with clarity and compassion. Every human heart longs for freedom. We may not always name it, but we feel it. The prisoner behind bars dreams of release. The overworked parent longs for rest. The wealthy business person, chained to endless responsibilities, secretly wishes to be free of pressure. The student overwhelmed by expectations wants nothing more than to breathe without fear. Freedom is not only a political or social condition, it is a spiritual need. And yet, most people live in invisible prisons of the mind. These prisons are built from craving, fear, and attachment. A person may appear free, walking where they wish, living as they choose, but inside they are trapped. Trapped by the need for approval, trapped by the hunger for wealth, trapped by the fear of loss. The Buddha called this the endless cycle of suffering, the cycle where desire and fear keep us bound. The key to freedom is not breaking external chains, but seeing the internal ones clearly. Consider a person who constantly seeks praise. Every action, every word is calculated to win approval. When praised, they feel alive. When criticized, they collapse. Are they free? No. Their happiness is imprisoned by the opinions of others. Now consider another person who seeks only possessions. They buy more, earn more, collect more, but the more they have, the more they fear losing it. Their possessions do not free them. They enslave them. True freedom is not having everything but needing less. The Buddha's path to freedom begins with letting go. This does not mean abandoning life or becoming careless. It means releasing the grip of attachment, recognizing that clinging creates suffering. Imagine holding a rope tightly. The tighter you pull, the more your hands bleed. Freedom comes not by cutting the rope, but by loosening the grip. Letting go is not losing. It is gaining peace. Let us reflect on a simple truth. Much of our suffering comes not from life itself, but from our refusal to let life flow. We cling to youth, but time moves on. We cling to relationships, but people change. We cling to plans, but circumstances shift. The more we resist impermanence, the more we suffer. The Buddha taught that life is like a river, always moving, never the same. If we try to dam the river, we exhaust ourselves. If we learn to float, we find freedom. One story tells of a monk and a traveler. The traveler complained constantly about his burdens. The monk asks him to carry a heavy rock on his back. After a while, the traveler begged to put it down. The monk said, "You may put it down any time." The traveler realized his burdens were like the rock, self-imposed. Letting go did not mean losing his life. It meant living it without unnecessary weight. In practical life, what does letting go look like? It means releasing grudges. Carrying resentment is like drinking poison and hoping the other suffers. Forgiveness is letting go, not for their sake alone, but for your own freedom. It means releasing rigid expectations. Life rarely follows our plans, and clinging to should brings endless frustration. Letting go means meeting life as it is, not as we demand it to be. It also means releasing the illusion of control. We believe we can control outcomes, people, the future. But in truth, we control only our actions, not their results. To cling to control is to fight reality. To let go is to act wisely and then trust the flow. This trust is not passive. It is active peace. Freedom also comes from simplicity. Modern culture teaches us to want more possessions, more success, more status. But each more adds weight. The Buddha praised simplicity, not as deprivation, but as liberation. To live with enough food, enough shelter, enough love, is to live free. Simplicity clears space for what truly matters: compassion, wisdom, presence. But letting go is not easy. The mind resists. It says, if I let go, I will lose everything. Yet the truth is the opposite. In clinging, we lose peace. In letting go, we find it. Let us imagine two hands. One is clenched, holding tightly to stones. The other is open, empty. Which hand can hold water, flowers, light? Only the open hand. In the same way, the open heart receives freedom. Meditation is the training ground for letting go. When we sit in stillness, thoughts arise, worries, memories, desires. The practice is not to fight them, not to chase them, but to let them go. Each time we return to the breath, we practice freedom. We learn that we are not our thoughts, not our cravings, not our fears. We are the awareness that sees them come and go. Another doorway to freedom is compassion. When we cling to anger, greed, or jealousy, we are bound. But when we practice compassion, the chains loosen. Compassion opens the heart, connects us to others, and dissolves the illusion of separation. Freedom is not isolation. It is deep connection without clinging. We must also see that freedom is not in the future. It is now. Many think, I will be free when I earn enough, when I retire, when others respect me. But these conditions never end. Freedom is not a future reward. It is a present choice. It is the choice to breathe, to release, to live with awareness in this moment. As we close this first half, let us remember, true freedom is not about escaping life, but embracing it without chains. It is not about controlling everything, but letting go of control. It is not about having more, but needing less. The Buddha's teaching shows us that inner freedom is possible for anyone, here and now, through mindfulness, simplicity, compassion, and letting go. And as we continue, we will go deeper into how to live this freedom daily, in work, in relationships, in facing loss, and how freedom becomes not only personal, but a gift to the world. For when one person lives free, they inspire others to do the same. To live with inner freedom is not only an idea, it is a daily practice. Many people hear the words "let go" and think it sounds simple. Yet when they face real situations, betrayal, failure, loss, the grip tightens again. The mind says, "I cannot release this. It is too important, too painful." But letting go does not happen all at once. It happens step by step, like loosening knots tied over many years. One way to practice letting go is through mindful awareness of possessions. Our culture teaches us to define ourselves by what we own: the clothes we wear, the car we drive, the house we live in. Yet every possession requires energy to maintain, protect, and replace. The more we own, the more we fear losing. Simplicity is not poverty. It is freedom. Try looking around your space and asking, "Do I own this? Or does this own me?" Each time you release an unnecessary possession, you feel lighter. The Buddha himself lived with only what he needed: a robe, a bowl, and compassion in his heart. Letting go also applies to achievements. Many carry the weight of past successes or failures. They cling to old victories to feel worthy, or they cling to old mistakes to feel ashamed. Both are chains. Freedom comes when we release the past and live in the present. Your worth is not your resume, not your trophies, not your scars. Your worth is your awareness in this moment, your capacity to love, your openness to life. Relationships, too, require the art of letting go. This does not mean abandoning people. It means releasing expectations. We often enter relationships with silent contracts. You must always make me happy. You must never change. You must never hurt me. When these expectations are broken, we suffer. But if we release them, we allow others to be human, imperfect, growing. Letting go creates space for genuine love, not love that clings, but love that flows. As the Buddha said, if you love someone, let them be free. Loss is one of the hardest places to practice letting go. The death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, the loss of health or youth, these pierce the heart. The natural instinct is to cling, to hold on tighter. Yet the Buddha taught that impermanence is the nature of all things. Flowers bloom and fade. Seasons come and go. Lives begin and end. To resist this truth is to multiply suffering. To accept it is to honor what was and to find peace with what is. Letting go does not erase grief, but it allows grief to transform into gratitude. Another practice of freedom is releasing control. Many believe, if I plan carefully enough, if I manage tightly enough, life will obey me. But life does not obey. Plans fail, accidents happen, surprises arrive. To cling to control is to fight a losing battle. Letting go means acting with wisdom and care, but not demanding outcomes. It means planting seeds, watering them, but not forcing them to grow. Freedom is trusting the rhythm of life while doing our part with sincerity. Anger is another prison. When wronged, we want justice, revenge, acknowledgement. But anger burns the one who carries it. The Buddha compared anger to holding a burning coal, planning to throw it at someone else, but the one holding it is burned first. Letting go of anger is one of the deepest freedoms. Forgiveness is not saying the harm was acceptable. It is saying, I choose not to let this chain bind me any longer. In releasing anger, we release ourselves. Daily life offers many opportunities to practice small acts of letting go. When waiting in traffic, let go of impatience. When a plan changes, let go of frustration. When someone misunderstands you, let go of the need to always be right. These small practices build strength for bigger moments. Each act of release creates space for peace. Meditation supports this practice. Sitting quietly, watch thoughts and emotions arise. Instead of clinging or pushing away, let them come and go like clouds across the sky. Each time you let a thought pass without grasping, you strengthen freedom. Over time, you learn that you are not your thoughts, not your cravings, not your fears. You are the awareness behind them. Awareness is always free. Freedom also blossoms in compassion. When we cling to ourselves, our pain, our desires, our stories, the world becomes small. When we open to others, our hearts expand. Compassion is letting go of the illusion of separation. It says, your suffering is my suffering, your joy is my joy. In this openness, freedom flows naturally because the walls of ego dissolve. But freedom is not isolation. Some think letting go means leaving everything behind, escaping responsibility, cutting ties. This is not the Buddhist teaching. True freedom is not running away. It is living fully without chains. It is being in the world but not bound by it. It is loving without clinging, working without greed, serving without pride. Imagine a bird flying across the sky. The bird does not carry the whole forest on its back. It simply spreads its wings and trusts the wind. We too can live this way. The forest of life surrounds us, but we do not need to carry it all. We can move lightly, freely, trusting the flow of IMPERMANCE. As we close this part of the journey, remember, freedom is not a gift someone else can give you. It is not found in possessions, status, or power. It is found within, in the choice to release, to forgive, to live lightly. The Buddha's teaching is clear. The chains that bind us are made in the mind, and the key to unlock them is also in the mind. And as we step forward, we turn toward one of the strongest chains of all, anger. Anger can burn families, divide communities, and poison hearts. In the next part, we will explore this fire, its causes, its destruction, and most importantly, how the Buddha's wisdom transforms anger into understanding and forgiveness. Anger is fire. It burns hot, it spreads fast, and it destroys whatever it touches. In the moment of rage, people say words they cannot take back, make choices that cause years of regret, and hurt the very ones they love most. Families are divided by it, friendships shattered, communities torn apart. Yet anger is also one of the most common emotions in modern life. In a world filled with stress, injustice, and misunderstanding, anger waits at the surface, ready to erupt at the smallest spark. Think of how easily anger arises. A driver cuts us off in traffic. A coworker takes credit for our effort. A loved one does not listen when we speak. In each of these moments, something inside flares. The chest tightens, the jaw clenches, the voice sharpens. For some, anger is explosive, shouted through words or expressed in fists. For others, it is silent, hidden behind coldness and withdrawal. But whether loud or quiet, anger poisons the heart. The Buddha compared anger to holding a burning coal. We think we are ready to throw it at someone else, but all the while, it is our own hand being burned. Anger promises strength, but in truth, it weakens us. It promises justice, but in truth, it blinds us. It promises release, but in truth, it chains us. Modern culture often justifies anger. If you are not angry, you do not care, people say. But caring and anger are not the same. Caring comes from compassion. Anger comes from ego. Anger says, "How dare you hurt me? How dare you oppose me?" Compassion says, "I see suffering, and I want to help." The Buddha never denied injustice or harm, but he taught that anger only adds to the suffering. It is like pouring oil on fire, hoping to put it out. Where does anger come from? Often from wounded pride. The ego feels attacked, disrespected, or ignored, and it lashes out to protect itself. Other times, anger comes from fear. Fear of being hurt, fear of losing control, fear of being powerless. Sometimes anger masks sadness or shame, rising like armor to cover vulnerability. Whatever the root, the result is the same. Pain. The first step to freedom from anger is awareness. Notice the body's signals, the racing heartbeat, the tightening muscles, the heat rising in the face. Notice the mind's thoughts. They always do this. I will never forgive. I must fight back. In that moment, instead of exploding, pause. Breathe. The Buddha taught that one breath of mindfulness can prevent 1,000 regrets. Another practice is to delay response. When anger surges, words rush to the tongue. But words spoken in anger are like arrows. Once released, they cannot be taken back. By pausing, even for a few moments, we allow the fire to cool. Many conflicts could be avoided if people paused before speaking. God compassion is the deeper medicine. When we look at the one who angered us, we may see only an enemy. But if we look more deeply, we may see a human being, wounded and struggling. Perhaps they act harshly because they are in pain. Perhaps they hurt others because they themselves have been hurt. This does not excuse the harm, but it explains it. Understanding softens anger. As the Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred. Hatred ceases by love. Forgiveness is the flowering of compassion. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting or allowing harm to continue. It means releasing the poison of resentment. It means choosing peace over vengeance. When we forgive, we free ourselves. Imagine carrying a heavy bag of stones, each stone a grudge, a betrayal, an insult. Day by day, the bag grows heavier. Forgiveness is setting the bag down. The stones may remain in memory, but they no longer weigh us down. There is a story of two monks walking together. They came to a river where a woman stood, unable to cross. One monk carried her across on his back. Hours later, the other monk scolded him. "We monks should not touch women. Why did you do that?" The first monk replied, "Brother, I set her down at the river's edge. Why are you still carrying her?" Anger is like that woman carried in the mind. Long after the event, we continue to carry it, burdening ourselves. Letting go is freedom, but forgiveness is not always quick. Some wounds are deep, some betrayals severe. The mind resists, saying, they do not deserve forgiveness. Yet forgiveness is not about what they deserve. It is about what we deserve. We deserve peace. We deserve freedom. Forgiveness is not a gift to the other. It is a gift to ourselves. Meditation on loving kindness supports this process. Begin with yourself. May I be free from anger. May I be at peace. Then extend to loved ones. May you be happy. May you be safe. Then, slowly, extend even to those who hurt you. May you be free from suffering. At first, the words may feel impossible, even false. But with practice, the heart softens. The sharp edges of anger smooth into compassion. Still, we must be wise. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating abuse or injustice. Boundaries are necessary. We can forgive and still protect ourselves. We can release resentment and still demand fairness. The Buddha taught the middle way, not extremes, but balance. Forgiveness without boundaries is weakness. Boundaries without forgiveness are chains. Together, they create true freedom. In modern life, anger is often fueled by constant stimulation. News, politics, social media, all designed to provoke outrage, to keep people hooked in cycles of anger. To live free, we must choose wisely what we consume. Just as we choose healthy food for the body, we must choose healthy input for the mind. Limit the diet of anger, and peace becomes easier. As we end this first half of exploring anger, let us remember, anger is natural, but it is not destiny. We may feel its fire, but we need not let it burn us. With awareness, compassion, forgiveness, and wise boundaries, we can transform anger into understanding, resentment into freedom. And as we continue, we will explore even deeper how to practice forgiveness in daily life, how to heal from deep betrayals, how to transform anger not only within ourselves, but within families and communities. For when anger is healed, love can flow again. Forgiveness is often spoken of as a single act, but in truth, it is a process. Some days the heart softens and peace feels possible. Other days, the wound feels fresh and resentment rises again. This does not mean failure. It means healing is still unfolding. Just as a physical wound takes time to close, emotional wounds require patience. Each time we choose compassion over hatred, we take another step toward freedom. One practice is writing letters we never send. When anger feels heavy, write down every thought, every hurt, every word you wish you could say. Pour it out honestly. Then, instead of sending it, set it aside or burn it safely. This act releases the weight, gives the pain a voice, but does not cause more harm. It is a ritual of letting go. Another practice is remembering our own mistakes. Often, we demand perfection from others while excusing our own flaws. But honesty shows us we too have hurt others. We too have spoken in anger, acted in ignorance, failed in love. When we remember this, humility arises. We realize that forgiveness is not only something we give, it is something we need. This recognition opens the heart to empathy. Reconciliation is deeper than forgiveness. Forgiveness can be private, a release in our own heart. Reconciliation is shared, a rebuilding of trust. It requires both sides to come together, to listen, to acknowledge pain. The Buddha taught right speech and right effort as tools for reconciliation. Speak truth without cruelty, listen without defense, and commit to new ways of living. Not every relationship can or should be reconciled, but when it is possible, it becomes a living miracle. Communities too must learn this path. Anger divides not only individuals, but groups, nations, entire societies. History is filled with wars fueled by resentment, cycles of revenge passed down for generations. The Buddha offered a different vision, reconciliation through compassion and understanding. He once stopped a war by asking both sides, "What is more precious, land or life?" When they answered life, he showed them the madness of killing for what could never equal the value of a human being. His wisdom reminds us, no victory is worth the cost of endless hatred. Modern communities can follow this teaching. Circles of dialogue, truth-telling, and restorative justice allow wounds to be spoken and acknowledged. When people are heard, their anger begins to soften. When forgiveness flows, communities heal. It is not easy. It requires courage, humility, and patience. But the alternative is endless cycles of pain not in families. Forgiveness is especially powerful. Families carry long histories of anger. Parents and children who stop speaking, siblings who fight over inheritance, spouses who cling to grudges. These wounds last for years, even lifetimes. Yet when one person chooses forgiveness, the chain can break. A simple phone call, a quiet apology, a willingness to listen. These acts can heal decades of silence. The Buddha taught that peace begins at home. To heal our families is to heal the foundation of society. Forgiveness also means forgiving ourselves. This is often the hardest of all. People carry shame for past choices, mistakes, failures. They replay them endlessly, punishing themselves more than any other could. But the Buddha taught that guilt, when carried too long, becomes another chain. The purpose of seeing our mistakes is not to hate ourselves, but to learn. When we forgive ourselves, we create space to grow, to live with wisdom, to serve others better. Self-forgiveness is not indulgence. It is responsibility transformed into compassion. Some may ask, what about great harm, violence, betrayal, injustice? Can such things ever be forgiven? The answer is not simple. Forgiveness does not erase accountability. Justice may still be necessary, but forgiveness means refusing to let hatred be the final word. Even in the face of great harm, we can choose not to poison our own hearts. Many who have suffered deeply, survivors of violence, war, loss, have found peace in forgiveness. Their stories show us that forgiveness is not weakness, but strength, not forgetfulness, but freedom. In meditation, we can practice forgiveness step by step. Begin with someone easy, a friend who annoyed you. Visualize them, breathe, and silently say, I forgive you. Then move to someone harder, someone who hurt you deeply. At first, you may feel resistance. That is natural. Do not force it. Simply hold the intention. One day, may I forgive. Over time, the heart stretches, like a muscle trained slowly. Eventually, forgiveness becomes more natural. Imagine a world where forgiveness is practiced widely. Families reunited, friendships restored, nations reconciling instead of warring. This vision may seem idealistic, yet it begins with each of us. When one person forgives, they inspire others. Forgiveness spreads like light in darkness. Each act of release weakens the power of anger in the world. As we close this part of the journey, let us carry these truths. Anger burns, but it does not have to consume us. Forgiveness is the water that cools the fire, the balm that heals the wound, the key that unlocks the prison. It does not erase the past, but it transforms the future. The Buddha's wisdom is clear. To hold on to anger is to hold on to suffering. To forgive is to be free. And now we turn to another chain of suffering, fear. Fear is quieter than anger, but no less powerful. It stops people from living fully, keeps them trapped in comfort zones, prevents them from loving deeply or speaking truth. In the next part, we will explore how fear binds the human heart and how courage, guided by mindfulness, can set us free. Fear is a shadow that follows many of us everywhere. Sometimes it is loud and obvious, like the pounding heart before speaking in public or the trembling before a dangerous moment. Other times it is quiet, hidden beneath the surface, guiding choices without us even realizing. Fear whispers, do not try, you will fail. Do not love, you will lose. Do not speak, you will be judged. It keeps lives small, dreams unrealized, hearts closed. Modern life multiplies fear. The news floods us with images of disaster, violence, and uncertainty. Technology connects us, but also exposes us to endless comparisons and judgments. Economic instability makes people afraid of losing jobs, homes, or security. Relationships create fear of rejection, abandonment, or betrayal. Even success creates fear. Fear of losing what was gained, fear of not living up to expectations. Fear takes many forms, but the result is the same: paralysis. The Buddha understood fear deeply. When he sat beneath the Bodhi tree, determined to awaken, fear visited him in many disguises. The ancient texts describe Mara, the tempter, who sent visions of armies, storms, and seductive pleasures to frighten and distract him. But the Buddha did not run. He sat calmly, touching the earth, and declared, I see you, Mara. Fear lost its power because he recognized it as illusion. This story shows us the path. Fear weakens when faced with awareness. Fear often arises from attachment. We fear losing what we love, health, possessions, people. We fear not getting what we desire, success, recognition, security. Fear thrives on the illusion of control. We believe we can hold life tightly, but impermanence ensures that everything changes. The more we cling, the more we fear. Freedom from fear begins with accepting impermanence. When we truly see that change is natural, loss is inevitable, and nothing can be controlled completely, fear begins to loosen. Consider the fear of failure. Many people do not pursue their dreams because they are afraid to fall short. They imagine humiliation, rejection, disappointment. Yet failure is part of life. No one succeeds without falling first. The Buddha taught that mistakes are teachers. Each failure shows the path more clearly. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the willingness to move forward despite it. Another common fear is the fear of rejection. We long for connection, yet we hide our true selves, afraid of being judged. But hiding only deepens loneliness. The Buddha taught that our worth is not dependent on others' opinions. True confidence comes from inner awareness, not outer approval. When we live with authenticity, some may reject us, but the right connections will remain. Courage is showing up as we are, not as others demand, Doc. There is also the fear of death, perhaps the greatest fear of all. People avoid thinking about it, yet it shapes many choices. We cling to youth, chase achievements, and resist aging because death feels like an ending. The Buddha encouraged reflection on death, not to create despair, but to free us. When we remember death, we see the urgency of life. We speak the words of love today. Take the steps of courage now, because tomorrow is uncertain. Death is not an enemy. It is a teacher reminding us to live fully. Mindfulness is the key to transforming fear. Fear lives in the future, in imagined disasters that may never come. Mindfulness brings us back to the present, where most fears dissolve. Right now, in this breath, we are safe. Right now, in this moment, we are alive. Practicing mindfulness each day, through breathing, walking, eating, builds a refuge where fear cannot dominate. Another tool is compassion. Fear often shrinks us into ourselves, focused only on survival. But when we extend care to others, fear loses its grip. Service creates courage. Imagine someone afraid to speak, but they speak anyway to defend a friend. Their love outweighs their fear. The Buddha's path of compassion shows us that courage grows not from ego, but from love. Visualization can also help. When fear arises, imagine yourself as a mountain. Storms may rage around it, but the mountain stands firm. Imagine your fear as clouds. They pass across the sky, but the sky itself remains clear and vast. These images remind us that fear is temporary. Awareness is permanent. Community supports courage as well. Alone, fear feels overwhelming. Together, we find strength. The Buddha taught Sangha, community, as a refuge. Sharing fears with trusted friends lightens the burden. Hearing others say, "I understand, I feel this too," reminds us we are not weak but human. Courage grows in connection. Still, courage is not always dramatic. Sometimes courage is simply getting out of bed when depression presses down. Sometimes it is making one phone call, speaking one truth, taking one step. Courage is not measured by size, but by sincerity. Each act of courage plants a seed of strength. Over time, those seeds grow into resilience, Doc. As we close this first half, let us remember, fear is natural, but it does not have to rule us. The Buddha's path shows us that by seeing impermanence, practicing mindfulness, cultivating compassion, and taking small steps, we can live with courage. Fear may visit, but it need not stay. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of awareness, love, and trust. And as we continue, we will dive deeper. We will explore practical ways to face fear in daily life, how to transform fear into wisdom, how to move from survival into freedom. And as fear softens, we will prepare for the final pain of this journey, loneliness, the deep sense of disconnection that haunts modern hearts. Fear does not disappear by force. We cannot shout at fear to leave, nor can we lock it away and pretend it is gone. The more we resist, the stronger it becomes. The Buddha taught that fear must be faced with awareness, kindness, and patience. Fear is like a child crying in the night. If we scold it, it cries louder. If we ignore it, it cries longer. But if we hold it gently, it softens. In the same way, we must hold our fear with compassion, not condemnation. One practice is to greet fear directly. When a wave of fear rises, instead of saying, "I should not feel this," we can say, "Hello, fear. I see you. You are part of me, but you are not all of me." By naming fear, we separate it from our identity. We realize, I am not fear. I am the awareness noticing fear. This small shift brings great freedom. Breathing is another anchor. When fear floods the body, the breath often becomes shallow and quick. By slowing the breath, inhaling deeply, holding gently, exhaling slowly, we signal to the body that it is safe. The nervous system calms, and the mind begins to clear. Each breath is a message of courage. I am here. I am safe. I can meet this moment. Exposure is also a path to courage. Avoidance strengthens fear. Facing fear weakens it. If we fear speaking, we can begin by speaking to a small group. If we fear rejection, we can begin by sharing a small truth with someone we trust. Each step builds confidence. The Buddha encouraged gradual training, not overwhelming ourselves, but slowly expanding our capacity. Courage grows like a muscle, strengthened by practice. Visualization can be powerful here. Imagine fear as a dark cloud in your chest. As you breathe, picture light filling your body, softening and dissolving the cloud. Or imagine yourself as a tree, roots deep in the earth, branches open to the sky. Storms may shake the leaves, but the roots hold strong. These images remind the heart that fear is passing, while inner strength endures. Community, once again, is essential. Fear isolates. It convinces us we are alone in our struggles. But when we share our fears, we discover others carry the same burdens. Stories of courage inspire us. Hearing how someone else faced illness, loss, or failure with dignity reminds us that we can too. The Buddha's Sangha was not only a place of learning, but of shared courage. Together, fear becomes lighter. Service also transforms fear. When we focus only on ourselves, fear grows. But when we act for others, fear shrinks. A parent facing danger may feel fear vanish when protecting their child. A firefighter may act bravely, not for themselves, but for those they rescue. The Buddha taught that compassion dissolves the illusion of separation. When love expands, fear contracts. Another practice is reflecting on impermanence. Fear often says, "This pain will last forever. This danger will never end." But everything changes. No fear lasts forever. By remembering impermanence, we weaken fear's power. The storm may be strong, but it will pass. The night may be long, but morning will come. Impermanence is both the challenge and the comfort of life. The fear of death, the greatest of fears, also dissolves in impermanence. The Buddha taught that life and death are not enemies, but parts of the same flow. Just as waves rise and fall in the ocean, beings are born and die within the great ocean of existence. Death is not an ending, but a transformation. When we see this clearly, the fear of death softens. And when we lose fear of death, all smaller fears lose their power. Gratitude is another antidote. Fear focuses on what might be lost, what might go wrong. Gratitude focuses on what is present, what is good. Each day, pause and name blessings. The breath in your body, the warmth of sunlight, the kindness of a friend. Gratitude reminds us that life is more than fear. It reminds us that even in uncertainty, beauty remains. Still, we must remember, courage is not always loud. Courage is often quiet, steady, and persistent. It is the single step forward when fear says stop. It is the soft word of truth when silence feels safer. It is the gentle heart that loves again after loss. Courage is not the absence of trembling. It is moving forward while trembling. The Buddha's own life is the model of this courage. He faced temptation, doubt, and fear beneath the Bodhi tree, yet he sat still. He faced criticism, betrayal, and danger, yet he continued to teach compassion. His courage did not come from force, but from clarity. He saw the truth of suffering and impermanence, and in that clarity, fear dissolved. His example shows us that the path of wisdom is the path of courage. As we close this part of the journey, let us reflect. Fear is a shadow, but it is not our essence. It will visit, but it need not stay. With awareness, breath, compassion, community, service, impermanence, and gratitude, we can live with courage. Courage is not found in waiting for fear to vanish, but in choosing to live fully despite it. And now we turn to the final pain, loneliness. Even when fear is faced, many still feel empty, disconnected, unseen. Loneliness is not only the absence of people, it is the absence of connection. In the next part, we will explore this deepest wound of the human heart and discover how Buddhist wisdom teaches us to transform loneliness into belonging and love. Loneliness is not simply being alone. A person can sit in a crowded room, surrounded by laughter and voices, yet feel completely unseen. Another can live with family, share a bed with a partner, and still feel the ache of isolation. Loneliness is not the absence of people. It is the absence of connection. It is the hollow silence inside, the feeling that no one truly understands, that we walk through life invisible. In modern life, loneliness has become a silent epidemic. Technology allows us to message, call, and share instantly, yet many feel more disconnected than ever. Social media creates an illusion of closeness, but scrolling through endless images often deepens the sense of being left out. People compare their messy, painful lives with the polished highlights of others and sink deeper into isolation. Even in families, schedules are packed, conversations rushed, and genuine presence rare. Loneliness thrives in this absence of attention. The Buddha knew the pain of isolation. Before his awakening, he left behind family, friends, and comfort to seek the truth. In the forests, he sat alone, facing doubt and despair. Yet his solitude was not the same as loneliness. For loneliness comes from disconnection, while solitude can bring deep connection to nature, to truth, to oneself. The Buddha discovered that true belonging does not come from the number of people around us, but from the depth of awareness and compassion within. U.S. Loneliness is often tied to the illusion of separation. We believe we are separate selves, cut off from the world. We say, "This is me, and that is you." From this illusion grows fear, comparison, envy, and loneliness. But the Buddha taught interbeing. Everything is connected. Just as a wave is not separate from the ocean, we are not separate from life. To see this truth is to see that we are never truly alone. Yet knowing this in theory is not enough. The pain of loneliness is real, and it must be met with compassion. The first step is to turn inward with kindness. Often, when lonely, people judge themselves. Something is wrong with me. I am unlovable. I do not belong. These thoughts deepen the wound, but self-compassion softens them. Place a hand on the heart and say, "I am here for myself. May I be kind to myself in this moment." This simple act begins to heal the inner sense of abandonment. The next step is presence. Loneliness thrives when people are together physically but absent mentally. When we sit with someone while distracted by phones or thoughts, the connection is thin. But when we listen fully, with attention and openness, the connection deepens. Even one moment of true presence can dissolve loneliness. The Buddha taught that the greatest gift we can give is our presence. To be fully there for another is to say, "You matter. You are seen." Community is also essential. The Buddha created the Sangha not only for teaching, but for belonging. Alone, the path is difficult. Together, it is lighter. In Sangha, people meditate, share, and support one another. Modern life often lacks this kind of community, but it can be cultivated in friendships, in groups, in shared practices. Belonging is not about numbers. It is about connection. Even a small circle of trust can heal the ache of isolation. Service is another antidote to loneliness. When we turn inward, focusing only on our own emptiness, the pain grows. But when we turn outward, helping others, we find connection. Volunteering, offering kindness, even smiling at a stranger. These acts remind us that we are part of something larger. Service dissolves the illusion of separation. It reminds us we matter because we can give. Mindfulness also transforms loneliness. Often, loneliness is magnified by the stories we tell. I am always alone. No one cares. I will never belong. But these are thoughts, not truths. Mindfulness teaches us to notice the thoughts without believing them. In this breath, in this moment, we are alive. As sun shines, the earth supports us. The breath connects us to life. In awareness, even when physically alone, we can feel connected to the vast web of existence. Consider the story of a monk who lived in solitude. A visitor asked, "Do you not feel lonely here in the forest?" The monk smiled and said, "How can I be lonely when I sit with the trees, the birds, the sky, and the earth? Everywhere I look, life is with me." His solitude was filled with connection because his heart was open. This story teaches us that loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being disconnected. Still, we must be gentle. Loneliness is not always solved by quick solutions. It may return again and again, especially in times of loss, change, or isolation. The path is not to deny it, but to walk with it. Each time loneliness arises, we can meet it with mindfulness, compassion, service, and community. Over time, the sharp ache softens into a deeper awareness of interconnection. As we close this first half of exploring loneliness, let us remember, loneliness is one of the deepest pains, but it is not permanent. It is the mind's illusion of separation. The Buddha's path shows us that through self-compassion, presence, community, service, and mindfulness, we can transform loneliness into belonging. And as we continue, we will go deeper into practices for healing loneliness in relationships, in solitude, and in society. We will explore how to move from isolation into love, from disconnection into unity. For the journey does not end with loneliness. It ends with the realization that we have always belonged. Loneliness often teaches us something profound, the hunger for true connection. Many chase distractions to escape it. Endless entertainment, shallow conversations, constant scrolling. These may numb the ache for a while, but when silence returns, the emptiness rises again. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us that real connection cannot be built on distraction. It must be built on presence, compassion, and truth. One way to heal loneliness is to deepen relationships. This does not mean adding more friends or contacts, but nurturing the ones we already have. Instead of asking, "How many people are in my life?" we can ask, "How deeply do I know them? And how deeply do they know me?" Real intimacy begins with listening. When we listen without judgment, without rushing to respond, we create space for another to be seen. And when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to share honestly, we invite others to see us. In this exchange, loneliness dissolves. Another way is to embrace solitude as a teacher. Many fear being alone, thinking it proves their unworthiness. But solitude can be a place of healing. In solitude, We learn to sit with ourselves, to hear our own heart, to reconnect with what truly matters. The Buddha spent long periods in solitude, yet he was not lonely, for he found deep connection with the universe itself. When we learn to be at home with ourselves, we no longer fear being alone. Solitude becomes a wellspring of strength rather than a prison. Compassion extends this healing further. Loneliness makes us focus inward. No one cares about me. No one understands me. But compassion turns the gaze outward. Who else might be feeling this same ache? How can I reach them? When we realize that millions suffer from loneliness, our own pain becomes a bridge to empathy. We can send a message, make a call, invite someone to share a meal. In healing others' loneliness, we heal our own. Mindful awareness helps us see that we are never truly separate. Each breath we take connects us to the trees that give oxygen, to the air that circles the planet, to the countless beings who share this world. Eating a meal connects us to farmers, rain, soil, and sunlight. Walking connects us to the earth beneath our feet. Loneliness tells us we are isolated, but mindfulness shows us we are woven into a vast web of life. Gratitude is another path. When lonely, it is easy to focus on what we lack, the partner we do not have, the friends who are not there, the community that feels absent. Gratitude shifts focus to what is present, the friend who listens, the neighbor who smiles, the stranger who holds the door. Each act of kindness, no matter how small, is a thread of connection. By noticing and appreciating these threads, we begin to weave a fabric of belonging. Forgiveness also plays a role. Many carry loneliness because of broken relationships, grudges, betrayals, misunderstandings. The pain of the past blocks new connection. Forgiveness does not mean ignoring harm, but it does mean releasing the bitterness that isolates us. When we forgive, we free ourselves to love again, to trust again, to connect again. Communities must also awaken to this truth. Modern life often isolates people in separate houses, separate routines, separate screens. Yet human beings are meant for community. The Buddha created the Sangha as a model, a place where people practice together, eat together, share joys and struggles. Today, we can recreate Sangha in many ways. Meditation groups, support circles, neighborhood gatherings, even online communities rooted in presence and care. Wherever people come together with honesty and compassion, loneliness loses its grip. Love is the final medicine for loneliness. Not romantic love alone, but love in its widest sense. Kindness toward ourselves, care for others, reverence for life. Love dissolves the illusion of separation. When we see the suffering of others as our own, when we rejoice in their joy as if it were ours, we realize that we are not alone. Love makes the heart spacious enough to hold all beings. Imagine walking down a street. You look at each person not as a stranger, but as a fellow traveler, carrying their own burdens, longing for the same peace and belonging as you. You smile, silently wishing them well. May you be happy. May you be free. In that moment, the walls of loneliness crack. Connection flows, even without words. This is the practice of loving kindness, simple yet transformative. And what about when loneliness feels overwhelming, when no practice seems enough? The Buddha's teaching reminds us, nothing is permanent. Even the heaviest loneliness will pass. Waves of disconnection rise and fall, but the ocean of life remains. Trust this truth. Hold on with patience. Reach for community, for compassion, for gratitude. The darkness of loneliness cannot withstand the light of presence forever. As we close this part, let us reflect. Loneliness is one of the deepest wounds, but it is also one of the greatest teachers. It reminds us of our need for connection, for compassion, for love. It drives us to seek beyond the surface, to build real relationships, to discover the truth of interbeing. And in doing so, It leads us back to belonging, not only with others, but with life itself. Now, we approach the end of this journey together. We have walked through stress, money struggles, relationships, anxiety, depression, meaning, freedom, anger, fear, and loneliness. Each pain is real, each solution rooted in wisdom and compassion. In the conclusion, we will gather these threads into a tapestry of hope, reminding ourselves that suffering is not the end, but the doorway to awakening. We have walked together through many landscapes of suffering. Stress that tightens the body and mind, the endless struggle with money and security, the pain of broken or difficult relationships, the restless storm of anxiety, the heavy weight of depression and emptiness, the crisis of meaning that asks, why am I here? The longing for freedom, the fire of anger, the shadow of fear, and the ache of loneliness. Each of these pains is part of the human condition. Each is real, powerful, and often overwhelming. But we have also seen that none of these pains are permanent. None of them define us completely. The Buddha's wisdom offers us a path, not an escape from life, but a way of living it fully, with clarity, compassion, and courage. Stress softens with mindfulness. Money worries ease with simplicity and gratitude. Relationships heal with presence and compassion. Anxiety loosens its grip when we return to the breath. Depression opens when touched with loving kindness. Meaning is found not in chasing, but in living each moment with awareness. Freedom is discovered in letting go. Anger is cooled with forgiveness. Fear is faced with courage. Loneliness transforms into belonging when we awaken to connection. At the heart of this teaching is one truth. Suffering exists, but so does the path to its end. We do not have to be prisoners of stress, anger, fear, or despair. We can learn to see clearly, to live gently, to love deeply. This does not mean life will be without hardship. It means we can meet hardship with wisdom instead of panic, with compassion instead of hatred, with courage instead of fear. Imagine a world where more people lived this way, where workplaces were guided not only by profit, but by presence, where families spoke with compassion instead of anger, where communities embraced connection instead of division, where individuals found meaning not in endless consumption, but in service, gratitude, and love. This is not a dream. It is a possibility, one moment at a time, one choice at a time. And so, as we end this journey together, let us carry these truths into our lives. When stress arises, pause and breathe. When money worries appear, remember what truly matters. When relationships hurt, practice patience and compassion. When anxiety visits, anchor in the present. When depression whispers lies, hold yourself with kindness. When meaning feels lost, live with intention now. When freedom seems distant, loosen the grip of attachment. When anger burns, choose forgiveness. When fear freezes, take one small step of courage. When loneliness aches, reach out with love. This is not theory. It is practice. It is life. And you are capable of walking this path. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to begin, to return again and again, like the breath. As you leave this teaching, carry with you hope. Hope not in some distant future, but in the present moment, in this breath, in this choice, in this heart. The Buddha's wisdom is not reserved for monks or sages. It is for you, here and now. It is a gentle light, guiding you through darkness. It is a reminder that suffering is real, but so is freedom. So let us walk forward, not with fear, but love. Not with anger, but with forgiveness. Not with loneliness, but with belonging. May your life be filled with peace. May your heart be filled with compassion. And may your steps lead not only to your own freedom, but to the freedom of all beings.